Good morning, everyone. We're going to be starting in just a couple of minutes. If you could, those of you that are sitting in a row with, and there's room next to you, if you could maybe introduce yourself to the person next to you so that we can fit a few more people in on the seats, that would be great. And then once we're at capacity, then maybe we'll have fewer people standing. And in a few minutes, we'll have some additional seats in the front row, but we don't yet because we need those for some of our city staff. Okay. Yeah, leave that for her. Okay. Okay.
And then again.
Let's see. These don't have for or
Yes, I
against.
assume the ones that are blank are general.
Let's give these to Heather. Okay, crap. Stay right there. Lots of people coming at me in different directions here. Good morning, everyone. We're going to be just a couple more minutes. We're waiting on one more commissioner. Just so you can plan accordingly, those of you that come fairly regularly know that when we have real parties in interest, we don't put time limits on their speaker cards. We don't have any real parties in interest per se that have put in speaker cards themselves. We may have some questions for them. We'll see how that goes. Regarding the speaker cards that we do have, we also hate to reduce below our 2 minutes, but we just have to, or we'll all be here all day. So we're going to put the cards on 1 minute for each speaker, and we will call you up. I'll start with 3 speakers in line so that we can keep it moving, and then as one finishes, I'll call the next one up. All right, and so that'll be the order of the speakers. I always try to also call people up in the order in which we get the cards. That was impossible today because they were kind of coming from 5 different directions. So we did try to create a method to the madness regarding the speaker cards, but we will get through them. So you also know we also don't start our hearings with the speaker cards. We start our hearings with the presentation so that we have the context and the foundation in place by the time the speakers begin, because we also make an oral record of all of our hearings, not just what happens here today. There's an oral recorded record that people will oftentimes go back to. So with that, we'll start in just a couple of minutes. Thank you all for being here. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, December 1st, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Commissioner Repenning, Commissioner James, and Commissioner Ascento are present. President James, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Ali Posti, LA Sanitation.
Good morning, Chris Enriquez, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Angelica Samayoa with the Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Mike Cirillo, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Alvin Galindo, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive speaker cards on item number 1 and also 55 speaker cards on item number 5, and in addition to that, 20 emails that were received via correspondence or via email and submitted to all the commissioners for your consideration.
Okay, and all of those are part of the public record. We'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Let's take care of a couple of housekeeping items first. On agenda item number 4, stop payment notice, Ventura Directional Drilling Incorporated has transmitted a stop payment notice in the amount of $118,544.62 for furnishing horizontal directional drilling in connection with the Bel Air Beverly Crest Unit 1 series to multiple high voltage conversion. This was for fiscal year 16-17. It's a street lighting project. The contractor is Servitech Solutions. Is there a second to my motion that we receive agenda item number 4 forthwith by Commissioners Rivas and Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 3, a stop payment notice. Ventura Directional Drilling Incorporated has transmitted a stop payment notice in the amount of $121,180.13 for furnishing horizontal directional drilling in connection with the West Los Angeles Playa del Rey series to multiple high voltage conversion, again for fiscal year 16-17. It's a street lighting project. Again, the contractor is Servitech Solutions. Is there a second to my motion that we receive agenda item number 3 forthwith? By Commissioner Rivas. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 2, Council District 14, contract amendment for the Gang Alternatives Program, recommending that the board authorize the Office of Community Beautification to amend an existing contract amendment with Gang Alternatives Program in the amount of $290,000 to provide supplemental cleanup and community beautification services. Mr. Roch on agenda item number 2.
Good morning. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. As mentioned here this morning, requesting board approval to amend an existing contract with Gang Alternatives Program, one of the nonprofit community-based organizations under contract with the Office of Community Beautification for supplemental cleanup and beautification work in Council District 14. Funding was transferred from Council District 14 to the Board of Public Works Contractual Services account in the amount of $290,000 by the first financial status report passed by City Council on November 3rd. Work to be performed utilizing these funds shall include enhanced graffiti abatement, litter and weed cleanup, alley cleanup, and bulky item collection throughout the 14th Council District, but primarily focused on the southern half of the district in Boyle Heights and downtown LA. The Gang Alternatives Program is one of 2 OCB contractors which services CD14. They do primarily focus on the southern portion. So far during the current fiscal year, GAP has picked up over 9,300 trash bags of litter, weeds, and debris from along the public right-of-way at a total weight of over 90,000 pounds. And they have removed over 1.7 million square feet of graffiti from 17,766 locations in Council District 14. Thank you for your attention to this item, and we do ask or request board approval.
Thank you. Any questions on agenda item number 2? No questions on agenda item number 2. Commissioner Santos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, sir. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We will send number 2 forthwith. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, November 6, 2017? Commissioner Repenning, any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 1, Bureau of Sanitation authority to conduct a pilot program to assess the feasibility of implementing a smart waste management system from eCube Labs, recommending that we authorize the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation to execute a letter of agreement between the Board of Public Works and eCube Labs Company Limited to conduct a pilot program in the sanitation designated areas that will determine the feasibility of implementing a smart waste management system. One moment, sir. Mr. Levinson, or maybe it's Ms. Levinson. I can't read the first name. Hi, come on up. Oh, item number 5? Okay, great. Mr. Sanchez, go right ahead. We'll put you in on number 5.
Morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is Marco Sanchez, representing LA Sanitation for agenda item number 1. I'm here to request the board to authorize the Director of LA Sanitation to execute a letter of agreement with the eCube Labs to conduct a pilot program free of cost for a period of 1 year. This will include all equipment, installation, training, and wireless subscription fees for all devices. The objective of the pilot is to determine the feasibility of implementing the smart waste management system offered by eCube Labs to optimize public space waste collection operations. The system uses ultrasonic sensor technology and wireless telecommunications to capture and transmit container fill level information to a web-based data management console called the Clean Cities Network. The system monitors every receptacle to alert operations managers whenever containers become full. The software is then able to generate automated collection routes that are optimized to help save time and reduce fuel consumption. Historical reports and statistical information are also available through the CCN user portal, which can be accessed online through any web browser or mobile device. Overall, this system promises to increase efficiency and lower operational costs by enabling collection service that is based on actual demand rather than on fixed collection routes, which are based on servicing every container regardless of its fullness level. The pilot program will be conducted in public spaces throughout Council Districts 4, 6, and 7, and will consist of deploying 5 solar-powered receptacles called the Clean Cube to Council District 4, and 100 ultrasonic sensors called the Clean Caps that will be installed onto existing automated litter bins and will be deployed to areas in Council District 6 and 7. Upon conclusion of the pilot, LA San will not be under any obligation to purchase equipment or to enter into a long-term contract. The reports will be reported to, the results of the pilot will be reported to the Board of Public Works and the Energy, Climate Change, and Environmental Justice Committee. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. We'll start with Commissioner Rivas.
Hi, thank you for this presentation. Is this similar to something, a pilot that you may have been involved in Council District 1? I forgot the name of the company.
It is. This is similar to the Big Belly pilot program.
Oh, Big Belly.
Yes.
Okay. And so this is just a different vendor?
This is a different vendor, yes, that offers similar products, but there are additional features that are offered by this company which we would like to test.
And how did you determine where to place these bins?
We go through a process in communication with the different council district offices where we supply recommendations for placement, and based on their input and feedback, then we're able to decide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. Commissioner Penning?
Are these bins able to be collected in a way that's automated, or do they have to be hand collected?
We will be able to use automated collections on the automated litter bins, the public litter bins, because they will have a sensor attached to them. The solar power receptacles require manual collections because these are semi-permanently installed onto the sidewalks.
Okay, so most of the bins impacted by the program will still be able to use our regular method of collection?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you, sir. So we are going to hear back in about a year in terms of the results of the program, of the pilot program, to see whether or not this is something that the Bureau wants to invest in that will help automate more and make collection as needed and less environmental impact, correct?
Correct, yes. We will be able to service containers that are, only containers that are full, as opposed to going down every route, collecting every container, because sometimes those...
I remember hearing in the meeting with some of the reps that there is an electronic, a Wi-Fi or some other types of features on this line of products that we could avail of as well.
This line of product, yes, it does offer a number of additional features, and one of them does include Wi-Fi capability.
But we're not participating in that part.
As far as I know, no, not for this one.
It has that potential.
It has that capability, yes.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Cinto. Commissioner Davis?
What is the fiscal impact of the pilot implementation?
The pilot itself does not carry any costs for the period of 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Is there a motion on number one? Yeah. Commissioner Penning, seconded by Commissioner Cinto, as well as Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 1. Any issue sending number 1 forthwith? We will send number 1 forthwith. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk on the voting items other than the oral report?
Yes, you have.
Okay. Then what we will do is for the Bureau representatives, engineering, street services, contract administration, street lighting, you're welcome to stay if you would like. It will be an interesting hearing, but if you have other stuff to do at your bureaus, you're welcome to go as well, or stay for any portion of it. Same with sanitation sitting here at the table. We've got plenty of sanitation reps here. That's really up to you all. So that said, agenda item number 5, hang on. Okay, agenda item number 5, a status update on the Recicla program from the Bureau of Sanitation. I have Mr. Zaldivar and Mr. Helu and Mr. Myers. Obviously, we'll go in whichever order you all prefer. And we're ready to start when you are after we get through the presentation. Then we will begin the process of going through our speaker cards, and then we'll have questions and commentary after that. Go ahead, Mr. Zaldivar.
Good morning, President James, commissioners, remaining Bureau Department executives, and our very own representative, Ali Pusti. For audio identification purposes, I'm Enrique Zaldivar, Director and General Manager of LA Sanitation. Thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to provide you with a progress report of the field implementation rollout of the Recicla program, a program transition rollout that began only in July of this year. But as you know, it's a program that was built over several years with distinct phases developed in logical progressive succession. It started with the dawning realization of our city policymakers, this commission, the city council, and the mayor, that while we as a city had made great progress in modernizing our solid waste management system with a successful recycling, resource recovery, and clean air program in the single-family residential sector, with our residents having already made an impressive cultural adaptation to a new system, that we remain nonetheless very much in a time-stagnant, primitive system in the commercial and multifamily sector. No recycling, no resource recovery, and no clean air program. And that, frankly, we remain stubbornly anchored on landfilling as our primary solid waste management practice. I will continue to make the analogy that we as a society, moving away from landfilling and into resource recovery as a directional goal, is parallel to us moving away from fossil-derived energy and into renewables, only that the solid waste industry is going to achieve it sooner. Right? Right. We had the policy and ordinance development phase, followed by the implementation plan development phase, succeeded by the contract award phase to select our Recicla service providers and partners, now known as RSPs, followed by the transition plan development phase. Currently, we're in the field rollout phase, which will finally be followed by an optimization phase. A program of this transformational magnitude and scope warrants the thoroughness and meticulousness of all these phases. We are more than 75% complete with the field rollout, with 4 of the 6 subzones already rolled out. Our completion date remains January 2018. We will go over a brief presentation, President James, as you had requested that we stay within 20 minutes or so. But let me just add a personal reflection that I am sure is representative of many of us on the Recicla program, both on the city side and our partner RSP side. And that is that in the course of the rollout, we have gained a much deeper appreciation for the complexity and the scope of this program and have risen to adapt to it. But one tenet has remained consistently clear to me and to my staff, though, that while the running of the program is a public-private partnership between the city and the RSPs, that we will always and unequivocally always have the best interest of the customer at the core of how we manage Recicla. So with that, I would like to ask Alex Halou to go over the PowerPoint, and then we will have Dan and Karen will close it.
Thank you, Mr. Zaldivar. Mr. Halou.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, honorable commissioners. Alex Halou for the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation. I'm going to quickly go through the presentation. Starting with an agenda, we're going to be going back and giving a quick update about how the program was scoped in the beginning, the goals and objectives that we were charted by this, by the Board of Public Works to do, how we are doing on those goals, the status of the transition. We started in July, and now we're 5 months into it, so we can tell you where we are and what we have learned across the way, and what we are doing about it. So not only we're learning, we're doing. We also, a couple items that became very obvious during this implementation is the extra service charges. We're going to discuss those charges, explain how they came to be and how we are explaining it to our customers. And we also have a bill dispute mechanism in place that's available online on recicla.com, as well as onto our customer care center. We also, by the way, we have also some of our senior inspectors outside. If somebody has a bill, they want to address it, our staff are outside, can take the information right away and we'll begin the process. Also, we are looking ahead what we can expect going on. As Enrique has mentioned, we are in the final stage. We are in of the implementation. So the scope of the waste in Los Angeles, this is something that people sometimes forget. We are, the second largest city in the country. We generate 14 million tons of material every single year. And we have done a great job as a city, diverting 76%. However, we have a challenge of 3.5 million tons of waste that's still going to the landfill. Just to put it in perspective, if you close your eyes and you look at the LA Coliseum, that's the equivalent of 7 LA Coliseum being filled to the brim every single year with trash. So we had to do something. That's the 3.5 million tons a year that we have to tackle. And how we do collect our waste, I know a lot of people know it. Some, maybe this is a quick refresher. The City of Los Angeles, we provide collection for 750,000 residential customers every single week. We provide unlimited bulky items. We have one of the best services in the country. We're very proud of our men and women who operate the trash trucks day in and day out. They become recycling, green waste, dead animal collection, waste. We also, handle e-waste, bulky items. So we have experience in this business. We know what it takes to get it done. Also, when it came to the multifamily, we have, God knows, between 80, 100 waste haulers, depends when time you do the audits. And so we had to do something about it. And that's where the RFP came in, and the Recicla came into existence, and we have the providers. And they handling multifamily, as well as commercial. Those are facilities not collected by the City of Los Angeles. An item that's not included in the franchise program is definitely the C&D, construction demolition. That's a separate entity. Again, when you look at the Recicla structure and the City of Los Angeles, as you see on slide number 5, you could see how massive this is. And so what we did in the beginning, and this board helped us, as well as the council, we sat down and we divided the plan. The plan was divided into 11 zones because we knew how big and massive this. This has never been attempted any place before. We are the first in this country to do something this massive. We're talking about 70,000 accounts. And that's how huge. And then, and we listed our Recicla service providers, our partners, in the alphabetical order. What are some of the Recicla program goals and programs, and where we are on them right now? So I want to start with the environmental goals. And why is environmental very important for us? These trash trucks drive every single street in the City of Los Angeles. We've seen reports after reports from USC, UCLA, AQMD about the asthma problem that all these streets have to deal with. And because we did not have a franchise system, we could not implement AQMD 1193 regulations. AQMD 1193 required everybody who has a franchise system and cities to have clean fuel vehicles. However, those who did not have a franchise, like the city of Los Angeles, the haulers were not. And so the haulers at that time, and to their credit, maybe business decision, they put the dirty diesel in the city of Los Angeles. And they operated the cleaner fuel vehicles in the franchise areas. Recicla flipped that on its head. Now the clean fuel vehicles, which are diesel, have been replaced with zero emission vehicles. And we worked with the mayor's office, with council, and with the AQMD, HVIP, so they were able to get some grant money so they can close that gap from being just a clean to a zero emission vehicle. What does that mean? That means 90% less NOx. That means 90% less PM. That means on the CO2, which we all concern about, 16% less than what the diesel were. So these are magnificent things. And the haulers, and we have to give them credit, 260 clean fuel vehicles are operating right now in the city of Los Angeles. Those are operating in our streets, in our areas, in between the schools, the businesses, the hospitals. One thing we're still working on is the routing. The routing has to be optimized, and we are working with them on the routing. They are required part of Recicla to optimize their routes. Facility certification. During the development of this program, we heard time and again from residents that these facilities, solid waste facilities, are open air. People can come in, they dump, and emission comes out from them. People in the neighborhood in Sun Valley had to sit while trucks were piling outside on the street running their diesel. So Recicla changes that. They have to be clean fuel, they have to be enclosed, and the emission definitely is lower. So we will be coming to the Board of Public Works next year in 2018. It said 2017, sorry about that. Should be 2018, we'll be coming to the Board of Public Works with our report about the facility certification. Every hauler who's operating in this city will have to meet our requirements under Recicla, have to use facilities that are certified. I would never forget my visit to Sun Valley, and we see an employee sitting and the trash was dripping on top of his head while he's doing the recycling. This Recicla changes that. Now these facilities certification will have to meet Cal OSHA. They'll have to meet the city requirements. We can no longer allow them to operate the way they used to do before. Sorry, I get passionate about the air quality and stuff. But when you have kids, you have to worry about it.
Understood, Alex. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry. On landfill, since I can't see that far, sorry. On diversion from landfill, that was a big item also. We talked about the 3.5 million tons. On the 3.5 million tons, the first sustainability plan developed by Mayor Eric Garcetti directed LA Sanitation to reach 90% diversion by 2025. We are at 76%. We have taken all the low-hanging fruits. Now we have to really concentrate on the other stuff that's harder to do. And Recicla provided that for us. So what have we been doing since July when this program launched? Over 47,000 waste assessments have been done. Businesses have been visited by our Recicla service providers, by our own staff. They looked at how they were handling trash before. Can you add the bin recycling? Can you reduce the amount of trash that's basically being put out? And people are changing. Over 1 million cubic yard of blue bin have been done just in the first 5 months. Imagine what we can do when Enrique was talking about the optimization, what great things we could be coming. Also, we should not forget the diversion is needed. Organic facilities do not exist. There's very far and few in between. Now we're seeing some construction going on of these facilities, and that's part of Recicla because they know organic waste is coming. Customer service. We heard time and time again during our preparation for the RFP and as we were going, meeting with community groups and neighborhood councils, how the service varied, depends. If you have a big building and you have multiple complexes, you get a great service. If you're a small mom and pop, you're stuck with whatever they give you. So we changed that. We are providing 24/7 customer service and dispatch center, where our operators are available 365 days a year, including Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the holidays, we're available. And also the rates are open. We have a rate calculator, we have contracts all on recicla.com. You can look and you can see what the rates are. You can see, you enter your if you have this 3 cubic yard, how much my service level, what my fee would be. Also, what we have done, because now we know what the waste is moving, what is shifting, we are tracking the mist collection. So what you see is our customer care center and our inspectors every day, 3 times a day actually. We send reports to all our 7 recycler providers. We tell them where are the mist collection and they need to address it. And we have a time set that they need to respond. If not, sanitation moves in. The customer care center is authorized to dispatch staff and address the mist collection. In addition, we provided a tool free of charge that developed by sanitation ICSD staff that is available free of charge to all the haulers. They can access online. They can see the map. They can see where the mist collection is, the frequency. All that is available for them. We have provided that. So we've done great stuff. We have some challenges coming in. And I'll turn it over to Dan Myers, who will start talking about the rates.
Can I ask you, Alex, quick question. What is the average response time right now to mist collections?
Our average response time is about 2 days. If we notice, if a customer calls us and he tells us that he has been missed, we dispatch people right away. Whether it's blue bin, black bin, it doesn't matter. We have the capacity to do it.
So the city continues its commitment to go out and collect if we see that it's not been collected beyond 2 days after the mist collection was reported?
Absolutely, 100%. Once they notify us, our customer care center are authorized to dispatch crew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Myers, Bureau LA Sanitation. I have a number of topics I'd love to go over with you about the recycler program, starting with the establishment of rates and how they were established, how they were put together, and how they work. The recycler process, we went through a very, very exhaustive process of negotiating maximum rates with our service providers that established a rate structure that is citywide and established predictable rates for all customers participating in the program. In addition to all the environmental benefits that Alex spoke to, Enrique spoke to, the Recicla program also brings a number of additional benefits to customers, and it's included in their rate structure. It includes blue bin recycling. This is at the core of what the Recicla program plans to do as a benefit to the city. Blue bin recycling is included as part of the base rate for all customers. It includes bin cleaning once a year, graffiti removal. It includes scout service less than 100 feet, the ability for customers to change their service, and this is very important. As new services are brought to customers and they're not sure how they're going to work within their Recicla program, even after meeting with their service provider, they have the ability to at any time change their service level. Call LA San, make a note they want to change their service level. Those service levels go into play. It also establishes, and I'll get into more detail, any and all extra services that can be charged under the program are actually stipulated in the contract. But it's also important to understand that the rate a customer pays is based upon the base rate they pay, is based upon their level of black bin service. Blue bin service is included as part of that. So customers will find that as they are able to decrease their solid waste service, increase their recycling service, they will see decreases in their base rates.
That's an incentive then.
There's a definite incentive there. Again, as Enrique pointed out, we are on the road to becoming landfill free. And the only way to get there is by incentivizing recycling and make sure customers have the ability to continue to downsize their solid waste and see benefits from that.
So Dan, the intention of the program is for recycling to be free to the customer, correct?
That is correct. That's at the core of how the program was designed. To give you an example of how that works, you have to bear with me here. If a customer has 2 3-yard bins, kind of a standard bin in the industry, picked up twice a week, and wishes to join the program, but doesn't change their service level at all, they would have to pay a service rate of $634. But if they embrace the recycling and chose to change out one of their bins for a recycling bin, so they'd still have 2 bins, picked up twice a week, same level, same volume of service, their rate would go down to just over $400 a month. So again, incentives built in to really driving solid waste down and increasing recycling. And it's also important to note at this phase that it is extremely important that customers participate and work with their service providers on getting a waste assessment. A waste assessment is really when the service provider and the customer have the opportunity to sit down together and really discuss the needs, the business needs, and how they work within the recycler structure. And that's typically where customers can see that they're able to begin to minimize their solid waste service and maximize their recycling service. And they do that through waste assessments. And I'll get into waste assessments a little bit more of what that means. And if you have any questions now on that.
Well, no, other than there are state mandates, Dan, that I'm not sure if they're in part of your presentation or not. Do you want to cover those briefly, summarize those, or is that part of the presenation? I think the oral record ought to reflect it, but go ahead.
I'll take the opportunity now. What we have is there's a number of regulations that have come down. AB 341 requires that all businesses that produce a certain level of solid waste have recycling programs in place. If it's a multifamily complex and it's more than 5 units, they have to have a recycling program in place. AB 1826 does the same thing, but for organics. If a business produces a certain amount of organics, they have to subscribe to an organics program. And with those regulations, they continue to get tougher and tougher over time. And under the old system, most businesses did not have a way to really respond to those regulations. Our recycler program was built to respond directly to those. There are new regulations being promulgated right now that take the requirements for our organics program and just begin to amp them up. Landfills are noted as one of the largest contributors of greenhouse gases in the state, and one of the biggest contributors of that at landfills is organic waste. We need to get organics out of the waste stream.
Commissioner Penning.
At any point in time, a customer can request a change in their service levels, and they have and their service provider is required to make those changes within 7 days. Is that
That is
accurate?
correct. That is a contractual
So
requirement.
at any point in time, a customer could say, you know what, I think we can actually increase our recycling, which is free, and we're going to bring down our rate, or we can move where we put our bin to reduce the extra services required to service my account so I can save money. And within 7 days, those changes will be made, correct?
Absolutely. That's stated in the contract. It's really a difference between having a contract under the old system where a customer might be locked into a certain structure to having all the flexibility within the recycler program to modify their service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. And Dan, I've got a number of issues related to the contract that I'll go through later. But one thing, since you broached the issue of the waste assessment, that's a contractual requirement, correct?
That is a contractual.
Everyone is entitled to it. the haulers and recognizing that there are going to be various levels of cooperation, but a waste assessment is a way for the customer to fully understand what their rate is, but it's also a way for them to reduce their rate potentially per Commissioner Penning's comment. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And it's contractually required but for the hauler?
It is contractually required for the hauler to conduct waste assessments, and there's an entire page dedicated in the contract of what they are required to do during that waste assessment.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Arcento.
Thank you, President James. Dan, you know, the waste assessment process, it is provided for and it's mandated, and that's a good thing. What we're going to want to know, and we'll probably hear from our stakeholders and constituents, is what are the limitations, what are the barriers, what are the difficulties in people being able to get that within 7 days, a timely response, or if they don't, what is their recourse? So you can answer now or later, but do you have any top-level challenges that you can identify to the barriers or the problems or the issues related to that waste assessment process?
Well, certainly. I mean, truly one of the challenges that we face in getting the waste assessments completed is actually getting the service provider and the right contact person at a business actually together. And it's truly one of the biggest challenges our service providers face is getting that linked up. But they work very hard at trying to get that face-to-face interaction. There's a number of requirement for a number of touches that include on-site visits, phone calls, letters to try to get the service provider and the customer to actually sit down, and that's the biggest hurdle. Once they do, it truly they begin to realize, not only the benefits of the program but how they work within it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And colleagues, just FYI, Commissioner Penning and I each took a question. Commissioner Santos had one. Commissioners Rivas and Davis had their lights on. One question each, and then, Dan, we're going to let you finish your presentation. Otherwise, we'll be here all day before we even get to the speakers. So, Commissioner Davis, then Commissioner Rivas, and then back to your presentation. With our best efforts to be uninterrupted, go ahead.
Dan, general information. Where can a constituent find the information that we've just recently discussed as it relates to moving your recycled can here or there, et cetera, et cetera? Where can that information be found?
The information can be found in a number of locations. They can visit Recicla.com. That's a city-hosted website that has detailed information about the program, the waste assessments, rates, all on Recicla.com. Each of our service providers maintain a customer service center within their zone, open Monday through Friday, including on Saturday, staffed that customers can come in and speak directly with the service provider, get that information, but also get questions answered. They can also call our customer care center. And a customer care center can answer a lot of their general questions, and questions that they can't answer, they can forward to their service provider to continue to answer those.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Rivas?
Do the waste assessments that you described include recommendations on how to reduce the extra service fees, like for the gate access requirements or the extra time to collect a bin that I think is more than 100 feet?
Certainly, we do find that many of the service providers, because when they sit down with the customer, they have to go over everything that the customer will be billed for, and that would include extra service charges. And they typically do discuss with them options. It might be moving the bin, might be leaving a gate open. But that's, that is one of the requirements, is try to work with the customer and right size their account.
Thank you. Mr. Myers, go ahead, sir.
Okay, continuing on, and I'll try to get through this quickly. You know, when we first negotiated our maximum rates with our service providers, one of the things we did wanted to make sure that is how we compare to other jurisdictions throughout the state. And what we found is that when you take our bundled base service, that includes both black and blue bin service, we are within plus or minus 10% of many of these cities located throughout the state. That's what this slide actually portrays. Moving on here. So recycler program goals and progress. Part of what the program was designed to deliver and continues to deliver is increased assistance in the labor force that supports our solid waste and recycling industry. It is what we have here. Employees working in the solid waste industry is noted as the third highest contributor to injuries. Alex spoke of our facility certification program that we'll be bringing out in January that will continue to help that. But what we've also seen is as our own service providers have expanded their workforce, they've brought in a number of employees into good green jobs. Sorry about that. Well, let me go back one. So just real quickly, and I touched on this already. When we developed our rates, we developed a program that delivered what we consider fair, transparent rates. Every rate, including extra services, can be found on the city's website. Those rates are citywide and change predictably throughout the term of the contract. So I want to shift gears just a minute into the transition. I know that Enrique spoke of breaking the city up into 11 collection zones. In order for us to approach the transition in a very methodical way, we actually went and further subdivided our franchise, our recycler zones, into subzones. And what those subzones indicate is how we transition customers month by month. An example would be in subzone 1. There's 6 different subzone 1s throughout the city. Actually, 7. There, in June, the city sent out notifications to all customers in that first subzone, notifying them about the program, and that in July, the service providers would be contacting them and to arrange for the waste assessments. That was followed by anybody who actually got a waste assessment, signed a service agreement, would start their service in August. They would continue to work in August for anybody who didn't sign a service agreement in subzone 1, continue to work with those customers, trying to get a service agreement signed. If a service agreement wasn't signed, they would automatically be enrolled into the program at their existing service level. And then we would do the same thing in subzone 2, but the following month. We'd start in July, sending notices to customers in subzone 2. In August, the service providers would start the waste assessments. So where we are right now in transition is we have completed transitioned for subzones 1 through 4. We're actually finishing the first part of our waste assessment touches for subzone 5. We're going to be starting the waste assessment process in subzone 6 next week. So we've come quite a bit ways through this process. Important to also note that what we see right now is the way the franchise zones were subdivided is we actually have completed our the transition for the West Valley zone. We've completed the transition for West LA. We've completed the transition for East Downtown zone and completed the transition for the Southeast zone. So moving on to what we've learned already through this process is we have seen a number of customers, many customers, whose bills have increased. They've increased through just an increase in the base rate compared to the services they were being provided before, and increases due to extra services. But do you want to talk a little bit about the comparison between the base rate of now and what a customer might have been paying before? All of the benefits that we have spoke of that could not be achieved through the system that this replaced is built into the rate structure we get now. The rate structure or the rates before, there wasn't a structure actually. The rates from before did not support new infrastructure, did not require clean fuel vehicles. Truly, it was, and we've heard this before. It was a race to the bottom of providing service, and all of that is what this program is designed to replace. But when it comes to extra service charges, what we found is that approximately 23% of the customers that have been brought onto the program so far see extra service charges, ranging from access to distance charges. But what we also found is that only 5% of those customers actually saw a significant, more than a 40% increase of their bill due to those extra service charges. And I did want to take a moment to talk about extra service charges, why they're in place to start with, and what they should look like. When we developed the rates for this program, it was negotiated. It was negotiated based upon a customer paying for a service that they were being provided. We recognize that there are customers that have additional needs. And some of those additional needs might be having their bin retrieved from a long distance within their property, or certain access needs. We chose not to spread those fees over the entire customer base, but to have the customers that require those special needs to pay for those special needs. But they still have the benefits in many cases to mitigate those. If it's moving a bin, if it's unlocking a gate. But that was the purpose of the extra service charges, is so that the customers paid for the services that they're being provided and didn't have to pay for the services that they're not being provided. I want to give you an example. It's an example that's actually from our downtown zone. We have a customer that requires our service provider, they have to park their truck on the street, go in through their lobby, zigzag through their lobby to the very back of their property. And the only way to get their bins serviced is to move those bins back through the lobby. The lobby is beautiful marble floors. They're actually required to lay carpet down um, all along their path of travel as they pull these bins back, um, service them, push all the bins back, and roll up the carpet. That is an extra service charge that we anticipated is above and beyond what's required as part of the base service. We've also seen in some cases where the service charges actually were not applied correctly. They did not comply with what we've seen in the contract. We actually saw one case where a customer was charged an access charge. And there was a gate that was broken, and it's laying over on the side of the property and had been broken and laying over the side of property for years. That would not be an appropriate charge for an access fee. So there's a very big range of how and when access fee or distance fees or extra service charges are applied. We've also seen through this transition that miscollections have and continue to be, an issue. Some of which is anticipated. It's a very, very big movement of customers. I talked with one of our waste haulers, and they said that they went from 9 recycling routes in one of their zones to now 26 recycling routes. Every single one of those recycling routes, brand new drivers to those routes. Those routes have to be established. There is a learning curve. But unfortunately, that learning curve is still more prevalent than what we want to see, including the number of duplicate missed pickups at a single location. And we're going to continue to work through those miscollections. But what we have seen is that we've completed over 47,000 waste assessments to date. And those waste assessments have yielded just over 40% service agreements signed. So, but unfortunately, that does leave 60% of our customers that are being brought on board without signing a service agreement. And that is what we want to continue to work on and improve. So the last slide I'll be speaking to you on is just a sample of what we see. LA Sands Customer Care Center is the first point of contact for all customer inquiries. If anything from a question on billing, a question about the program, if you want to have your service level changed, or if you're calling for a miscollection. Every customer is asked to call LA Sands Customer Care Center. That allows us to monitor, track, and respond to all inquiries. But what we're seeing is predominantly the service requests that we're receiving have to do with service-related issues. And that's for service not complete or other operational complaints, which are often miscollections. So we have identified it as one of the key areas we need to continue to improve on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Karen Coca.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Ms. Coca, welcome this morning.
Good morning. Karen Coca, LA Sanitation. I just want to make a couple comments about the number of miscollections and the other things that we're hearing about, and hope to learn from the folks that are here today. And one of those is that we have to encourage and push whoever communicates with us to call the customer service center. It's so important because we log everything in. It's got a date, and it goes directly within seconds to our RSPs. It's available to them.
RSPs, recycle service providers?
Yes, the
Just
service
so everybody
providers.
knows the RSP term and those listening online, but go ahead.
Of course. But we want people to call us, because if they're not calling us, we have no record of their miscollections. We have no record of their service issues. And the number of service issues that we're having is frankly not acceptable to us either. And that's why we're putting measures into place to try to bring those down and definitely work on those, but not over time right now. Anyway, moving on. So still in the learning curve on communications. We found out fairly early on that there was inconsistent communication to the customers out in the field. We actually pulled in all of our Recicla service providers, staff, and teams that were providing their on-the-ground outreach in the field and went through training and went through FAQs. And we have continually throughout the last 6 months tightened that and worked with them on that. But one of the biggest problems we find is that the information relayed to us from the customer did not always match what the Recicla program is and the types of benefits that it provides and the ability to, what we call in our industry, right-size their service, which means to, when we talked about getting as much recycling as they could handle, basically. We found out that we needed to revamp the messaging for the program early on. And through our Green Ribbon Council, we've heard and have consulted very closely with many business leaders. And what we have heard back from them is they're willing to support the program, but we need to get a handle on these service issues and some of the other some of the charges that are being charged out there to make sure that the customers are getting the best service and the best work available. So moving into some of the things that we're doing. We have had a bill review team who has been assisting customers when they come to us asking to work with them. They have questions about their bill. They don't know how it works, maybe talking to them, and we have been providing that work for them. But now we've expanded that into a bill review task force. So we're expanding the staff we have available, and we're going to be working on that. So let me go through that. We have a bill dispute process. That process is in place right now. As Alex mentioned, we actually have some of our team here who will be able to intake those disputes so that we can start the process of going through that. We have gone through a lot of clarifications with our service providers on areas of the contract. That's included many things in the contract, but definitely in the area of access and distance charges and when they can appropriately be charged. We have an inspection staff of 70, and they're out in the field to help the customers. So we've expanded our tracking, and Alex spoke about that. We're going to more heavily be involved in miscollections, especially multiple miscollections, and find out where the failures are so we can make that stop and stop quickly. This is just another screenshot of our customer service tracking. Communication, we're also moving forward and continue to hone the messages, providing FAQs. We're creating content, getting information out there. We've spoken at numerous business and community meetings to talk about the program and to intake people's comments and try to address their issues. And we've set up, as I mentioned, the Green Ribbon Council, which has been very helpful in bringing the business community's concerns and suggestions to us, and so we'll continually improve that program. Finally, looking ahead, we want to complete the transition on schedule. February 1st is in the contract's terms, the start of service date. That is when all known customers should be in the system. And then we begin to look more closely, and we begin to look at enforcement. If customers are still not seeing the service that they should be getting and still not seeing the responsiveness they should be getting, February 1st is when that starts. We're going to target miscollections. I mean, for us, there's no excuse for material not being collected, especially after we've been notified. We want to go through and have the second wave go through and train the customers on how to recycle properly in the blue bin so that we can continue to get more recyclables. And we're just going to continue working on these problems and look forward to hearing from you and from the folks that are here. Thank you.
Karen, we're not going to have questions now, although I'm going to take a president's privilege here. And just one point of clarification regarding the presentation. The bill review task force has already been established, correct? It's not something that's happening in the future?
No, it is in place right now.
Okay, great. Well, we may have more questions about that. So we're going to start with, as I mentioned before, I'm going to call 3 names, and then as one person finishes, I'll call the next name. Please line up here behind the microphone. It's 1 minute each. Just an FYI, we did receive a few speaker cards that came in after we began the item. Our rules is once we begin the item, we don't take the speaker cards. We'll see how we're doing on time at the end of the people that got their cards in on time and see if we have time for the ones that came in late. They were brightly identified, though, the ones that came in late. We'll start with Shane Phillips, Central City Association. Then we have Fred Sutton, and then Beverly Kenworthy. Those will be the first 3 in that order. And then as one finishes, we'll go down the row. You are Mr. Phillips.
Yes, sir. Good morning. My name is Shane Phillips, and I work for Central City Association. I want to be clear up front with my comments that we understand the need to comply with state law and that such a significant shift was bound to come with a cost, and we support the waste reduction goals, and that we also recognize that such a large transition was inevitably going to be a challenge. Since my time is limited, I just want to raise one big problem that won't be solved simply by getting through this transition, and that is extra service charges for things like distance and access, and how those charges are applied. In many cases, we've seen these charges more than double the monthly service rate for our members, and there's no conceivable way, really, that these extra services are actually doubling or tripling the costs to the providers. Just as an example, you might have 5 minutes of delay to haul 2 bins, adding $50 of distance charges to the customer's bill, and that fee is assessed every pickup, often several times a week. We want to see this plan work as intended, but right now, in large part, because of how these extra services charges are being applied, that's not happening. We want the service providers to be responsible.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have Fred Sutton next, and then after, then Armando Flores will join the line. Go ahead, Fred.
I'll go quickly. Fred Sutton with the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. Thank you, Commissioner Rapanen and Sanitation for meeting with AGLA throughout this process. As was highlighted, the concerns over service and access fees. We've seen a lot of tripling and doubling. I have an example of a bill going from $500 a month to $2,000 a month. 50% of those fees are related to access and distance fees. Also, the majority of your rental stock here is rent controlled, and there are significant issues with how you can implement this program. If you have a single chute, how can you put in a recycling bin in a parking space? That's a reduction of service. We can only pass on 3% per year. A lot of these costs are completely wiping that out. We'd ask for the ability to pass through the delta of the new costs on rent-controlled properties. This is a community effort, as well as review the ability to pass through costs associated with compliance. You may have to have new janitorial if we can go door to door, or have more people to help us comply with these programs that we need assistance with, and I think are reasonable. Thank you. I have submitted a letter that I hope you look at further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Beverly Kenworthy, then Mr. Flores, and then we'll add Martha Cox Natickman. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. Beverly Kenworthy with the California Apartment Association. I will echo the comments before me. There's so many things to talk about with this program. I'm going to focus on just a few. One is the service pickups and the missed pickups have become a nightmare for my members. Calls to Bureau of Sanitation have not helped. Calls to the hauler have not helped. calls to council office. I have a member whose trash was not picked up for a week and a half after Thanksgiving. What happens when one pickup doesn't happen in a multifamily apartment, in a restaurant, and anywhere? You have pest control issues. You get roaches immediately. You get rodents immediately. What do you have then? You have tenant habitability issues, which is against the law here in the city of LA. You also have the health department coming in and citing you, and our members' hands are tied. One of our members was going to rent a 40-foot bin to have his janitorial staff put trash in, because it was so bad. I was able to intervene for them. The presentation was way too rosy than what's actually happening on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Flores, then Martha, and then we have Yodit Simu. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. My name is Armando Flores, Legislative Affairs Manager for the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, VICA. We would like to commend the work that LA Sanitation is doing with the Recycla program. The program is generating new jobs. And although there have been concerns from our members and the business community, the department has been very responsive and willing to work with us to address these issues. Some businesses have voiced concerns about the increase in fees. In response, LA Sanitation is doubling its efforts to ensure that every customer's recycling capability is maximized as a way of reducing service costs. Recycla has the potential to be great for businesses and residents. And once these small issues are ironed out, this model public-private partnership will ensure a city-monitored, rate-consistent, responsible waste disposal and recycling system by companies that are committed to investments in clean infrastructure and local jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next person to add to the line will be Kendall Ascension. Go ahead, ma'am.
Martha Cox, Niddickman, Building Owners and Managers Association, except I'm a little taller. I represent about 160 commercial office building owners in Greater Los Angeles. I have 3 issues I wanted to talk about today. We already heard the staff address better consistency in messaging. We have many building owners, corporate owners that have properties throughout the city, so in multiple districts, and they're being told by a hauler one thing and then a different district another, and I know the staff is working on that. And by the way, we commend the staff. We've worked with them, the Green Ribbon Council and the Mayor's Office, and we want to continue to be a part of that. Secondly, distance fees. It's already been talked about here today. Again, one of our concerns is some of our owners said, oh, we can get a third party to pull that out to the street, and one hauler said, no, you're not allowed to do that. We have to do it. In another district, they said, yes, you can. So again, consistency. Third, our members are LEED certified. They've already been recycling for many years, and in some senses, this program sort of goes to the bottom and starts over. Our owners need diversion reports. We hope that the staff will look into that and what it would take to have a higher, greater reporting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll add John Smith next to the line. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Yodit Samu. I work for a federally funded project with UCLA Labor Occupational Safety and Health Program. Our program educates and advocates for workers to prevent work-related injuries, illnesses, and fatalities. Workers who perform waste treatment and disposal, 80% of whom Latinos, face some of the higher injury rates in California. The waste and recycling industry is one of the most dangerous industries in Cal OSHA's hazard industry list. In fact, workers who perform waste treatment and disposals rank 4th highest in occupational injuries and illness rates. When you passed Recycla, it was bold and long overdue stance in pushing back against this norm because it guarantees safer working conditions for workers who are in this industry. We have raised the bar and reimagined how the waste industry should function. And as Angelinos, we should be proud of this accomplishment, and thanks for Recycla, many lives and limbs can be saved due to the high health and safety standards that Recycla has.
1 minute. Thank you, ma'am. Adding to the line, Aisha Seiler. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kendall Ascension. I'm here on behalf of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank the staff at Public Works and for Mr. Salvador for their outreach to our members about the Recycla program. The sanitation team has been proactive and responsive to us and our businesses as the program is implemented, and we thank them for listening to our business community's concerns as the rollout continues. We still believe that there are a number of challenges that need to fully be addressed, including education on the program, notification of changes in fee structures. As an organization with over 1,600 members, our member companies, we'd like to continue to serve as feedback resource for the department as well as a communication vehicle to our membership. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding to the line, it looks like Robert Nothutk. But go ahead, sir.
Hi,
Thank you. I'm representing Avalon Bay Communities. We have about 10 to 15 communities in the city of Los Angeles affected by the agreement. I wanted to share an example of one community in particular, Toluca Hills Apartments by Avalon at 3600 Barham Boulevard. We have 1,151 units at this community, 23 individual buildings, each with 2 bins per building. Because of the distance language in the agreement, our rates are increasing year over year at this community by $381,000. That is increasing the residents' projected monthly costs from $8 a month to $38 a month, a total impact on each resident of that community of around $300 a year. We have about 1,700 to 2,200 individuals living at this community. So that's just an example of the impact that it's having on the constituents of this city, and it paints a much different picture than I think what was shared here today. And this is going on throughout the city, and just wanted to share that the language needs to be amended, and we've even made attempts to come to an agreement with the hauler on central locations, and we're still told we'd be charged a distance fee for each bin, even if they were in a central
1
location.
minute.
Thank you, sir. The next name to add to the line is Franklin Acevedo. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Aisha Seiler, and I represent the LA Food Policy Council. One of the major concerns that we focus on is the issue of food equity in the city of Los Angeles and also in the county. Recycla is now putting Los Angeles on the path towards zero waste by increasing access to recycling, uplifting worker standards, and most importantly for us is making food recovery of edible surplus food, diverting it from landfills and making that a reality, and also modeling it for the rest of the nation, so thank you for that. With any new large system implementation, of course, it takes time to see the impacts, and we're waiting and excited for those. As it takes time to form habits and change culture. We understand there are some concerns regarding ways in which Recycla haulers can better inform customers regarding servicing concerns, so we're excited about the public education campaign that will be taking place, and we are here as a resource to help in any way. We are the folks that bring together food waste prevention and rescue folks here in the city, and work closely with you all, and we look forward to the success of this program.
Thank you, ma'am. The next name to add to the line is Julia Mande, it appears. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Notoff, and I'm the director of the Don't Waste LA Coalition, and I'm here today to share our experience today with Recycla. When discussing the program, I fear that we have kind of lost at times the big picture of why we did this in the first place. And so just to remind everybody, prior to Recycla, we had a wild, wild west system here where we were recycling less than 20% of what we throw away in the commercial sector. Residents were inhaling dirty diesel emissions from our archaic waste vehicles, and the industry was one of the most dangerous that you could find in the city. We're already starting to see some of the immediate benefits of this program already. For example, there has been significant capital investment in waste vehicles that are now all clean fleet. Everybody in the city now has access to recycling, and there are new modernized waste facilities that have been built and are currently being constructed. While we know there have been a few bumps along the road, we also know that the city and haulers are pushing forward with their best. We also understand that for this program to work, the public at large must feel bought in and excited about it, so we support any discussion to ease the implementation process, including more continued stakeholder outreach with everybody at the table, and more thorough
1
vetting
minute.
on the waste assessment. Thank you.
And thank you, sir. The next person to add to the line is Chris Zwicky. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rampart Property Management currently manages over 1,100 units, housing approximately 4,000 city residents throughout
You're
the city.
Mr. Acevedo?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Over 4,000 city residents in the city of Los Angeles. The way that we have responded to the recent up to 200% increase in our trash bill is that we've started the process of completing just and reasonable rent increases through the housing department, passing along 100% of these increases to every one of our tenants. What this means is that every one of our rent control tenants will be facing, in conjunction with the most recent increases in low minimum wage standards that the city has passed on, close to $120 per city resident. I don't believe that was the intention that the city had when they passed along the minimum wage increases, and now coupled with these trash services. So we're looking forward to, in conjunction with the city, working on other solutions to reduce these fees so that the housing is more affordable for our tenants.
Thank you, sir. And the next name to add is Matt Keetle. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Julia Mandy with the organization LA Compost. I'm here to highlight the importance of the Recycla program and thank the Department of Sanitation for the ongoing efforts to address concerns. Reducing food waste through food recovery and then through avenues to return that waste back to our soils is a significant and necessary step not only for the sake of waste reduction but climate stability. by removing harmful methane gases from entering the atmosphere and doubling the efforts of emissions by storing excess carbon in our healthy soils. Composting our way to healthy soils is the answer to reversing climate change. Community composting programs supported by Recycla can significantly contribute to the city's goals of diverting 90% of waste from landfills in the next 7 years. In just 9 weeks, we have diverted over 15 tons of food scraps destined for landfill from just one food recovery kitchen to just one local composting site. Programs like Recycla work to support local infrastructure like ours to put Los Angeles on a path to zero waste, leading it along with other cities
1 minute.
through the U.S. and the globe.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next name to the line is Michael Martinez. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. My name is Chris Wicki. I'm here representing Homeboy Recycling. We're here to speak in favor of this program and some of the benefits that it has. We understand that there are concerns about customer service for Recycla customers. We support any motion that seeks to improve the system as long as it preserves the gains that have been made, including spurring job creation. And just as an example, our company began as a small woman-owned electronic waste business, and years later we partnered with Homeboy Industries to create Homeboy Recycling. And this has allowed us to expand our business and our impact, creating job pipelines into disadvantaged neighborhoods and providing hardworking people with a second chance in life. Homeboy Industries is nationally recognized when it comes to rehabilitative work, and the recycling industry is a great opportunity to provide people with a family-sustaining career path. So this is what we're doing, and we think that the Recycla program is very much aligned with that, and we just want to support anything that enhances the customer service for customers, but also preserves those job gains.
Thank you, sir. The next person to the line is Adrian Martinez.
Good morning. My name is Matt Cadle. I'm the pastor at St. Mark's Lutheran Church in South Los Angeles and part of the Don't Waste LA Coalition. When I came to my congregation in 2012, we did not have recycling because it was not something that our waste management company included automatically. When we heard that we had a chance to move out of the prehistoric system that we had before, our congregation immediately joined the Don't Waste LA Coalition and worked hard for the Recycla system that we have today. So today when someone shows me a plastic bottle and says, "Do you recycle?" I can say, "Yeah, we do," and I point to the blue bins. I understand there are things that can be improved, and I appreciate everybody that's shared today. I hope that we can make those improvements, but stay the course into a cleaner, healthier future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to the line is Alice Berliner.
Thank you for wanting to push recycling and reduce
I
truck
need your name, ma'am.
E. Hyatt.
I'm sorry?
Elizabeth Hyatt. Beth Hyatt.
I didn't call you.
Oh, I thought I did.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Go ahead, sir. We'll get to you in a moment.
Good morning. My name is Adrian Martinez, and I'm from Earth Justice. I'm here today to express the story. I live at near the intersection of Rowena and Hyperion, near Silver Lake and Los Feliz. I've seen a dramatic change in the number of trash trucks for the benefit. My daughter and I like to go on walks. Previously, before this program, we saw excessive number of trucks that were serving the many businesses, apartments, and homes in the region. We think the service fee issue is something that the Bureau of Sanitation should push hard on the haulers to fix. It's a problem, but this program provides lots of benefits, and it's benefiting my family right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to the line is Finian Makepeace. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. My name is Alice Berliner, and I am from the Southern California Coalition for Occupational Safety and Health, and we're also part of the Don't Waste LA Coalition. Our organization is dedicated to improving workplace health and safety, because oftentimes injuries and fatalities are preventable. One of the reasons that our city leaders enacted Recycla in the first place was because they saw that the old hauling system provided little to no accountability, which resulted in horrendous working conditions. And as mentioned by the representative from UCLA, waste management is one of the most dangerous jobs, and it's on Cal OSHA's high hazard industry list. And so based on rates of non-fatal injuries or illnesses resulting in lost time from work. And it is not uncommon for workers in this industry who are primarily women and people of color to lack the most basic safety equipment and standards such as gloves to sort through waste and access to clean water and shade. So Recycla, it has a clear path to
1 minute.
Safer jobs, and
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We missed a speaker that was called, so I'm going to add two to the line, Griffin Bauer and Mr. Levinson. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. President, Commissioners, my name is Finian Makepeace, co-founder of the organization Kiss the Ground. We're mostly dedicated to restoring soil worldwide. I just want to start by saying we have to continue this program. And secondly, this program is really amazing. It is taking LA to the place where it should be. And I really want to stress the breakdown in communication. I recently was meeting with Gavin Newsom and getting more insight into what they did in San Francisco and how much attention was paid to getting the messaging across to businesses. We have businesses now who are saying, I can't compare my rates to another hauler, this is ridiculous, while not really understanding what they can do to reduce the size load that they have of their trash. So these are problems. I've spoken with several businesses who've called our organization to say, hey, what can we do? And the communication can be made better, so that's our main suggestion. And I think that we just have to see this through and understand that we're in a growth process and it's going to get better for everyone. And this whole group has done an amazing job and they want to make it work for everyone. Thank you guys for pushing it so hard. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Dennis Carter.
Hi. My name is Griffin Bauer. I'm here today representing Thrive Market. Thrive Market is a tech company based here in Los Angeles. Over the past 3 years, we've raised over $160 million towards creating a 21st century socially conscious business aimed at solving environmental and social problems through democratized access to healthy food. And so just for context for this discussion, over the past 3 to 6 months, we've made great strides in becoming a zero waste company ourselves. We're right on the doorstep, largely in part towards some of the learnings that we've gathered from Recycla. And so we see this program as being absolutely vital in terms of both helping us to actualize our efforts towards becoming a zero waste company and also providing us with a common language that we can use in enrolling our employees. We have 500 towards recycling in their own homes and in their communities. And so I think in closing, I want to remind all of us here today that at every stage of progression as a society, we hear from businesses that these progressions are too expensive and untenable. As part of LA's thriving tech community, I would say that this investment in a brighter future is
next to the list is Allison Schill.
Hi, I'm Jerry Levinson, representing M&M Investments, a residential multifamily apartment owner of about 200 units here in Los Angeles. And I wanted to express our frustrations with the rollout of this program, both in terms of cost, which in some cases have doubled and tripled, as others have mentioned, but also the poor performance. We have had difficulty, as described, getting pickups. We've had complaints from our own residents, as well as those from adjacent buildings. And to add insult to injury, we've also gotten a citation from, I believe it was the LA County Department of Sanitation and Health, citing us for the problems created by the inability to get the trash and recycling picked up. So I just wanted to make that all known to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Fred Leeds. Go ahead, sir.
Dennis Carter, owner of a 14-unit building, Sherman Oaks. It's gone up 207%, no additional access needed, no additional service requested or needed, but 207%. So I think if you have no competition, this is what you can expect if you don't allow competition. So that's basically what I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Adding to the list, or to the line, Diane DiBosario.
Hello, I'm Allison Schill. I'm here with Don't Waste LA, and I'm from Refeed America. The Recycla program is so innovative that, of course, we will have some growing pains. However, this is the first time a municipality has included mandatory food donation in a franchise agreement. And now other cities are calling me from this state, the county, and worldwide, and asking us for guidance on how they can adopt the system into their own waste policy. Recycla has already united and empowered food rescue orgs locally, creating contracts that will give new streams of resources for the nonprofits that provide food equity services for our most vulnerable populations here in LA. And this is inspiring new jobs, new technologies to be developed in order to accommodate the anticipated increase in food donations and decrease in food waste. In LA, 1 in 7 people and 1 in 4 children are food insecure and rely on these emergency services to make up for that. We need to continue to grow and perfect this program that is full of virtues and not lose the bigger picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Joseph Riggs.
My name is Fred Leeds. I'm passionate about affordable housing. I own and operate more than 4,000 apartments and 1 million square feet of retail. My recent increases in garbage costs, sometimes from the same hauler, 200%, 300%, 400%, 500%, 600%. Garbage bills on some of my buildings are greater than my mortgage payments. Current rent control last year increased 3%. I'm not a landlord, I'm a property owner. Nobody says, my lord, here's the rent. Now, far worse service and 600% increase is not what I want to look at. This is Chicago-style chicanery. I asked this board for a full investigation. Lastly, under rent control, I cannot demand my residents to separate out their trash. 11 franchise areas, no competition. This is rape.
Kristen Brahms is next to the line. Go ahead, ma'am.
Can I make a point of order before I speak?
You can speak for your 1 minute, ma'am.
Can you please give me 1 minute, please?
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Diane. I'm a liberal lefty landlord. I actually don't have a problem with the Recycla program. I applaud your efforts to make the city greener. I'm a parent. I want my kids to breathe. But the trash company fees are stupid, unfair, and counterproductive to the Recycla program. The last several years, I've invested in my property. I put a lock gate at the back of my property and put my dumpster in there. Now I no longer have homeless people pooping in my dumpster. I no longer have a crazy feral cat lady and 3 million fleas. I no longer have homeless people sleeping on my property. I no longer have a dumpster that is tagged minimum twice a month, and I no longer have my dumpster stolen. But you are going to make me move it out of the gates because I can't afford those extra fees. I had the police come to my building. They told me if I do what the trash company wants me to do, I will categorically make a gang and homeless problem on my property. I have the Officer Garcia from the Rampart District. I don't want to make my property a piece of garbage, no pun intended. Please help me. I'm happy to pay the rate. I'm happy to pay the increase.
1 minute.
I cannot afford the fees. Please help me save my building. Don't let them ruin my building. It's counterproductive to what Recycla wants to do.
Thank you. Jason Rocha, added to the list.
Hi, good morning. My name is Joseph Riggs, representing Pacific West Management. First of all, I'd like to start off by one of my properties getting an increase effective November 1st, 146%. It is outrageous for a property to get 146% and being forced to use these services. We are getting charged $1,100 for access fees and distance fees. Push of a button to get access to the properties is outrageous to be charged these many fees. Not only are these fees outrageous, our trash chutes are not being reopened. Trash is being dumped on the side of the garbage bins. Our garbage bins are being reduced to smaller containers, causing pesticides, causing trash chutes to build up, to cause our trash chutes to be damaged, not only being damaged, but causing a fire hazard. Why will we leave our access gate open to save monies, which will invite unwanted guests? That can also vandalize our property, but not only vandalizing our property, but our residents' assets. Thank
Adding to the list, Mike O'Gara.
Hi, my name is Kristen Brahms, and I represent my family, and we have 7 buildings among us. The one thing that we have not seen is we haven't seen commercials on the TV so that tenants know what they're supposed to be doing. I cannot educate 7 buildings worth of people who all act like 3-year-olds. We need somebody to say what goes in the bins, what cannot go in the bins, and there needs to be penalties that we can pass through if we get charged because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And I don't think that's fair that we can't put through on rent-controlled buildings increases so that the tenants see that there is an impact that everybody has to pay. That's all I have to say.
Adding to the list, Gary Agus.
Good morning. Jason Rocha with Decron Properties. Decron owns and manages 39 residential communities in California. Of these 39 communities, close to 15 properties will be subject to this new program and its fees. Currently, 9 properties have been impacted with increases coming in between 115% to 374% monthly. This is like-for-like service, same yardage, same number of service days, and same number of lifts. As an example, I have a rent-controlled community in Los Feliz that has gone from a monthly trash expense of $22.59 to $10,715. Annualized, at just this property alone, increases to $101,458. These 9 residential communities as a whole are now subject to $461,000 in annualized increases. Again, this represents only half of our portfolio which will be impacted. As a company, we believe in giving back to the communities where we work and live. Part of this is through recycling and taking care of our air quality and, of course, taking care of our planet. However, these fee increases are out of bounds and we need additional options.
Thank you, sir. Adding to the list, Isis Fernandez. Mr. O'Gara, go ahead.
My name is Mike O'Gara. I'm here with the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council. As a side note, we met with Karen Coco about 3 years ago to discuss this situation, and we were 100% for it because of the environmental use. It's not working out. I hear from the Department of Sanitation what a wonderful world this is. In Sun Valley, it's not. It's a disaster. We don't have our trash picked up. They've raised the rates 3 times. They're still billing and harassing the people to pay the bills, and the trash is piling up. We finally discovered between last night and this morning, they don't have a truck to pick up the small carts. Yesterday, they picked up some trash from people who have been waiting for 7 weeks piling up. And what they did was they brought new carts and took the stuff away in other trucks. Those little carts are like the bins that you have at your house, and they don't have a truck that can take them and throw them up on the top. So the trash is not getting picked up. The other complaint is this phone system that Karen spoke about. You get on the phone, you're on there for an hour or so,
1 minute.
and they say, we'll get back to you in 24 hours, and you never hear from them again. So the people don't even call the bloody number, okay?
Mr. Townsend, Craig Townsend is next. Thank you, Mr. O'Gara.
Good morning. I'm Gary Agus. I'm with the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council. You have a copy of my letter from
Yes.
our president, so I won't read that. I'll just touch on it real quick. A couple of examples of how the waste assessment is being turned into an aggressive sales tool. The businesses are being coerced by the reps. Businesses are told by assessment reps from Republic and other franchise providers that they have no choice in the size of bins they can use. Businesses are being told that they have to pay the extra services like gate fees, clicker fees, lock fees, distance fees. They're being told it's a mandate. Businesses are told that they have no say as to the day of the week they are serviced, and they are being billed for after-hours fees. As I said, the assessment process is being turned into an aggressive sales tool. Thank you.
The next to the line is Jamie Jansen. Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Isis Fernandez, property manager, Rancho Los Feliz Apartments. On 3 different occasions, a representative from Recycla came to visit our community to do a waste management assessment. After our waste management assessment, our bill will go from monthly $2,700 to $11,000. This increase is exorbitant, and it's a financial burden on our business. In a multi-family housing dwelling, this can create a strain on the business as the residents may choose to move versus paying the amount of the increase. This new mandatory company is taking advantage of the fact that we do not have an option to choose a different hauler. It's charging us for how far the dumpsters are from the curb, which at Rancho Los Feliz, all of the dumpsters are over 200 feet away from the curb. This is the layout of the community, and it's really out of our control, should not be penalized.
Thank you. Adding to the list, Stephen Cucci, CUCCI.
Good morning. My name is Craig Townsend with Synergized Properties. I have a 200-space manufactured home community in Harbor City, California. We get emptied 3 times a week. Ever since we have the new company coming in doing it, I've had to pay my employees on 3 different occasions to manually roll back 17 bins because a toter truck will come in, put the bins where we empty them, but then they have to leave for one reason or another and don't come back. I haven't been assessed yet. I don't know what our rate's going to go up to, but from what I'm hearing, at $5,000 a month already, $10,000 to $15,000 a month once I get assessed. Being under rent control, it's really hard for me to pass this through to my residents, so it's going to put a burden on all of us. please do something to help us fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Adding to the line, Evan Silver.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Jansen with Valley Living. I'm here to speak because my company is a solution to help the City of Sanitation or the Sanitation Department actually get these communities in compliance. We take trash and recycling directly from the resident's door, dispose of it in the proper receptacle, and avoid cross-contamination. We definitely are a solution, and two of my clients, for instance, one is in East LA, 1,200 units of rent control. Their bills tripled from $12,000 a month to $36,000 a month. There's another rent-controlled community in Central LA, 4,200 units. Their bills doubled from $1 million a year to $2 million a year. This is absolutely ridiculous. People can't absorb that, especially in a rent-controlled setting. I'm here to ask for a pass-through so that I can help the sanitation department, my company and companies like mine can help them actually roll this program out in an efficient and effective manner, because as of right now, that's not happening. Thank you.
Adding two people to the list, Dan Fowler and Chuck Tuma. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Evan Silver, owner of Central Kitchen Restaurant, and thank you for the opportunity to speak before you and for your attention. Prior to the Recycla program, my business was a member of and a certified member of the Green Business of Los Angeles, certified by the City of Los Angeles. We were doing 3 pickups a week, 2 bins for the same service. We started at under $400 with the previous company, and now with all of our extra fees, we're paying over $1,500 a month for our trash service. I can understand that for the basic service changing, with all the new things you're adding, if the price goes up, I can understand that. Maybe we've gone from under $400 to under $600, I can live with that. But another $900 in extra service charges, that's, almost 50% more than just my trash service. It's outrageous to have to pay so much extra just for the extra services, and nobody's rolling out any special carpets or going through any lobbies to get our trash. We're just in a parking garage. So I'd love to see what you can do about these extra services. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Alex Nigian. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Dan Fowler. I'm president of the Apartment Owners Association of California, one of the largest individual owners group. I take calls every day of people complaining and crying about this program. If you believe that presentation that was made to you is credible, I have a bridge I can sell to each one of you. They're full of bull. It's not working. It's not happening. Apartment owners are being intimidated and actually literally laughed at by the trash companies when they talk about lowering the price. They raise the price from $100 to $400. They save money. We'll lower you to $350. That's what they're talking about in saving money. They're saving nobody money. The program's not working. A solution? The problem is there's no competition. The solution, if you have to have a monopoly, is price controls. We are controlled with 3% a year. They should be controlled with the same thing. The trash people, the apartment owners, the business people out there are being, as Mr. Lead mentioned, raped by the trash companies. How many people in this audience feel you're being
Adding to the
raped
list, Mark
by these
Wagner.
trash companies?
Mark Wagner, go ahead, sir. No, you're next in line. I'm just adding to the line. We've got Chuck Tuma coming up, then Alex Nigian, and then Mark Wagner.
Good morning. My name is Chuck Tuma. I work with Cardinal Property Management Company. We manage 99 properties in the LA area. This has not been an easy transfer for us, although after listening today, I don't feel so bad. We did have one property that went up 600%, but I do have to say that we contacted the hauler, which was UWS, and they came out, they realized they made a mistake, and they corrected it. With each property that we've had an issue, the hauler has corrected it. So this is a new process, we understand that. Although when it started, I had hair. It's not been a fun process. I wish there would have been more education prior. But I want to thank you for your time.
Chuck, can you tell Danny Padilla that I said hi?
I
Heather,
will.
yeah.
I will.
You're my property management group.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
Adding to the line, Jamie, it looks like Jamie Mever from OIHP Management Corp. Sorry, I can't read the writing. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Alex Nigian. I own seven-unit apartment building, and I'm under rent control. I have the same trash company since 1978 and will continue on with the new program. They had raised my rates about 45% in 2 years, so I started looking into another company, and I found one that would reduce it by approximately 50%. However, they said I can't change because of the new program, so I can't go to anywhere else. They had increased my rate approximately double, and in the last couple of weeks, they actually reduced that. But what the other gentleman said is there's no competition. I got nowhere to go. They just, whatever is handed to me is what I'm stuck with. And unfortunately, the increase is quite a bit for someone who has only 7 units. That's it.
Thank you. Adding to the line, James Ford. Go ahead, sir. Mark Wagner's next. I don't know why we can't have to list people. I can't figure out.
Hi, I'm Mark Wagner, and I represent a family-owned property management company. We own and manage apartment buildings. Has the implementation been spotty? Yes. Have we had people just show up and pick up trash and have no communication? Yes. Have we had dumpsters overflowing? Yes. But the big thing is the increase. Basically, we have 8 communities. 6 have got proposals. 2 have got bills. $19,500 a month increase, 161% average. Total $234,000 a year for 6 rent-controlled properties. It's apples for apples. We had pull-out service before. I mean, it's really just insane, the price increase. We need to look into that. Thank you.
Adding to the line, Dean, or, well, it's a last name. It looks like Deyan, Dayan, Zazev. And, sir, you are?
Jamie Meyer with GHP Management.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We manage approximately 5,000 units under the SEGA LA program. Across the board, we've seen an increase of approximately 400%. At one property alone, our bill went from $6,000 per month to $35,000 per month. Of that amount, 75% is access and distance fees. To think that we can easily move the bins or change locks in order to decrease those fees means you have a gross misunderstanding of logistics and what other requirements that we're under as a property manager and multifamily. So if anything else, please look into the distance access fees, because to see that we've gone from here to there with no discernible difference doesn't make any sense to me. I think it does make a lot of sense to other people here as well.
Thank you, sir. Sir, who are you? Let me get my line and my list correct. You're who?
James Ford.
Okay, Mr. Ford, go ahead. I called you, sir. Go ahead.
Or you did. Do I get a minute? Okay, there we go. Yeah, my name is James Ford. I'm with Ford & Ford Consultants. I just want to say that I want to just, my own reasons for coming here is to close the gap between the real and the ideal a little bit, okay? While we sit here and hear what everybody has to say, the ideal for Recycla is great. There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. The time has come. They're doing a great job. These guys are working harder than anybody I've ever seen, 7 days a week, sometimes 14, 15 hours a day, the trash guys, okay? Now, I understand the outrage too, because some of the pricing is really out of line, I think. However, proactive is better than reactive. There's a lot of these large management companies that were given the information that this was going to happen, and all my clients knew they weren't happy with the increase. Nobody is, but they all knew it was coming. They all knew it was going to happen. And the reason that the prices was so low before was because, and nobody was more vociferous in their being against the franchise. I was vociferous about that in the beginning. I was here for all the meetings. I don't know where everybody else was,
1 minute.
but I was here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. There is by the way, there is a...
Thank you, sir. Sir, who are you? You've been, who? Okay, go ahead, sir. I called you.
My name is Dion. I represent Pacific West Management, apartment
Go ahead.
manager. Came here exactly to complain for the service being done from Republic Trash Company, which it's controlled from the City of Sanitation. We're getting so much missed pickup. We're getting so much not good done services from Republic Company, and we really are worried for that because the smell in the trash container is terrible. It's a coming possibilities from roaches, coming possibility from the rats, and it's a people living in that places in the parking lot where it's located nearby to the apartment. We're expecting the City of Sanitation to have not only a customer service for 24/7, and where it's always nice, always giving us a confirmation number, but we're not waiting only 2 days or 1 day. We have a situation where we're waiting for more than 4 or 5 days, and the smell is absolutely terrible. Sign on the logo of the trucks, it's a clean air. So seeing clean air does not mean only we're changing from diesel to gas. We're thinking the smell from the trash container
1 minute.
where it's coming, it's really not.
Thank you, sir. I have, let me start the line again with three folks, and then we'll try, and our system worked pretty well for a while, then we lost one or two folks. Janie Lazo, L-A-Z-O, and then after that, Charles Betts, and then after that, Victor Sanchez. And we'll try and get back on track. Go ahead, Ms. Lazo.
Hi. Thank you so much for hearing me today. My name is Janie Lazo. I represent ENS Ring Management Corporation. I manage Village Point Apartments. We have 258 rent-controlled units in the city of Northridge. We had a trash assessment. They came out, they provided the assessment, told us that our rates were going to go from $19.40 per month up to $18,817 per month. And that was because of a $14,000 charge for scout service, which is exorbitant and ridiculous. I can't understand how that could be possible. Next thing, they talk about reduction of truck traffic. Just for my property alone, our truck traffic is going to be doubled because now we're going to have 3 weekly visits for recycling trucks, and is in addition to the black bin pickups. The other issue is that we were told that they could not remove black bins at my property because they have to have a period of time in which to see how much trash is going into those bins before they can agree to reduce any cost because of recycling. Now, bear in mind, we've been recycling for 10 years.
Thank you, ma'am. Gerard Wright will be added to the list.
The gentleman over here said most of what I want to say. However, I want to know why it is the owner's responsibility to recycle the trash, to sort it. Number one, if a tenant wants to get even with the owner because he's upset about something, he can throw trash in the recycle bin and recyclable stuff in the trash bin, and the owner gets fined. Now, reason I'm doing this is so that the trash hauler can sell the recyclables and make money off it. But I don't make any money off of it. I get fined if I don't. And this, my friend, is what is known as slavery, when you have to do work for somebody else and you get nothing in return.
Adding to the list, Chris Barberg. Go ahead, sir.
Victor Sanchez, I'm a CD14 resident. Before I start, I just want to call out that we shouldn't be using metaphors about rape. Given the current climate around sexual assault and violence for women, I think it's unacceptable, and you all should be ashamed of yourselves. So that with regards to slavery as well. If I can have my minute, that'd be great.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much. So as I mentioned, I'm a CD14 resident. I grew up in Eagle Rock. I lived near Shoal Canyon. I lived near commercial residential properties that were very large. I have asthma, and probably as a result of the mixed result is a lot of the issues that are associated with that. LA has an opportunity here to really kind of continue paving the path forward towards what innovative, impactful policy making is around the country. And I think we finally have an opportunity and a blueprint to kind of meet these goals that we have set out for ourselves. It's not just about waste, it's about the environmental impacts. So you're looking at air quality, right? We have trucks that are no longer going to be giving out dirty diesel fumes in a lot of these communities, especially marginalized communities of color, which have been largely bearing the brunt on the environmental costs that we've been seeing historically in this city. We're already noticing a huge impact in terms of the food elements, in terms of the donating that is happening because of this policy. And so it's a large opportunity for LA to continue to forge the course.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Jose Ramirez. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Gerard Wright, Policy Manager with the LA County BizFed, grassroots alliance of over 160 business groups representing 325,000 employees with 3 million employees in Los Angeles County express our support for Recycle as a public-private partnership in achieving its ambitious zero waste goals. I'm speaking on behalf of members who request further examination of issues to review during this critical transition period. This will make or break the delivery of this innovative program. A letter has been submitted to you. You all are looking at it at the moment. And I'm going to review some key items that are very important with my remaining 20 seconds. 1, review and eliminate additional fees, including the entry and distance fees. Review incentives and communication tools to help assist in changing the tenant behavior as it relates to sorting. Reviewing the physical space limitations in older building stock for both affordable housing and commercial, because that's very important. If you're going to do the sorting, you have to look at the physical restraints behind it. We hope these issues will strengthen this program to make sure that everyone buys in and everyone can
1 minute.
into this program.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Hannah Comel. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Chris Barberg with EcoSet Consulting, and I'm speaking in support of the program. I think this is truly the beginning of a culture shift that's been a long time coming. My company works implementing sustainable practices behind the scenes of productions and events, and we get hired by clients to do sustainability because no infrastructure existed for the last 9 years that they could tie into. And so I believe that this is the bridge. When people are recycling correctly at home, starting to compost, they will do that at work, they will do that on film sets, at community events, at large festivals. It's the beginning of a culture shift. And as a small example, I've seen an alleviation of waste hauling truck traffic in my own neighborhood where my business is in Atwater Village. We used to have a bottleneck with trucks and trailers and semis and lots of delivery vehicles, but that's been alleviated with the fewer trash trucks since our subzone has already been transitioned into the program. So thank you.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Mariela Manzo. No, sir, you're next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Ramirez. I am the Executive Director with the St. Francis Center. Our organization has been a staple in Los Angeles for over 45 years, providing programs and services for homeless and near-homeless families. I offer my support for the Recycle program, especially the food rescue provisions that are in the policy. We currently partner with 3 waste haulers, Ware Disposal, Republic, and Athens, and their support has actually allowed us to boost our recovery efforts by 20% and recover an additional 110,000 pounds of food just in the past 4 months. This increase has brought our annual total to 1.3 million pounds of food recovered, which has allowed us to serve over 130,000 homeless meals and provide over 18,000 grocery visits for families struggling with food insecurity. This is more than ever in our 45-year history. And just from an environmental perspective, that 1.3 million pounds of food equates to about 500,000 pounds of greenhouse gases that have also been diverted from polluting the air we breathe. Ware Disposal's team has been amazing. We've worked with them, and we've actually been able to cut our waste bill by 30% simply through some education, rearranging our bin size, and strategically rescheduling our pickup days. I support the Recycle LA program, and I hope we continue to build on it.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Royce Saman.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Hannah Kamal. I'm an LA resident here today speaking on behalf of the Recycle commercial waste and recycling system. Making sure that I reduce my waste and my impact on the environment is something that's always been very important to me. I'm really excited about how the program has allowed people to reduce the impact that they're having on the environment and the trash that they're putting in the landfill. Recycle has allowed everyone to have access to free recycling and has established a blueprint for LA to set and meet its goal of diverting 90% of waste from landfills by 2025. I understand that there are a lot of concerns about the program, but let's make sure that whenever we're discussing this program that we recognize the benefits of this policy. Thank you.
Adding to the line, Alejandra Garcia.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mariela Manso, and I'm with the Natural Resources Defense Council. As one of the largest environmental organizations in the nation, we are committed to safeguarding the environment and fostering healthy communities. Thanks to Recicla, our city will now send less waste to landfills, which reduces our dependence on ever-depleting natural resources, as well as reducing climate change emissions from rotting waste in landfills and old diesel trucks. LA is a national leader in sustainability, and we appreciate the magnitude of this undertaking as we are setting the model for the nation. We expect challenges to be part of the process to transform from landfill dependence to zero waste, and understand that there are some concerns about Recicla's service to customers. We support efforts by our elected officials seeking to address these concerns, as long as they also protect the environmental and public health benefits that have been gained by Recicla. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Adding to the line, Robert Notoff.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Roy Saman. I'm a condo owner in the 10th City Council District. I'm here to speak in support of this program. Koreatown, where I live, is a very, very dense residential community, and any reduction in emissions means a lot. I live in, off of some very busy streets, and making sure that, I can remain a part of my community and invest in my community for the long term by making a healthier community matters to me as somebody that is hoping to really put down roots in this city and stay here going forward. I think it's important that we keep an eye on the big picture of what this program is trying to do. It's a visionary program. It's a big program, and I think finally, I believe that the plural of anecdote is not data, and it's important to keep an eye on actually what's going on. This is a new program that should be given a chance to really flourish, and I hope that you keep all that in mind going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Looks like I need to add two names to the line. Adrian Martinez, in case Adrian Martinez did not already speak. And I've got Amy, Hammes, Amy Hammes, but you are Alejandra Garcia.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
So hi, my name is Alejandra Garcia. I'm a resident of Council District 8 in South Los Angeles. Growing up in South Los Angeles, I believe that recycling only included cardboard and bottles because that's the only thing I saw in my community. And it wasn't until I went to school in the West that I learned that it also involved composting food recovery. I applaud the city for taking initiative on how we can go above and beyond when it comes to recycling. It's also great to see service providers take initiative as well. I'm finally seeing recycling bins outside my local mosque and restaurants when I've been living there for 17 years and never seen recycling bins before. I've also seen waste companies like Republic put outreach kiosks about Recicla all over my neighborhood when I feel like it's been neglected this entire time. As a resident and also as someone who's studied environmental science, I believe that Recicla is a huge undertaking, and changes like this take time, especially change in the right direction. But I hope that we can all stand together and please stand behind this. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding two people to the line, Lauren Akian and Myra Soto. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Amy Hammes, and I am a resident of Los Angeles. I live in Council District 9. I could speak on a lot of fronts on this because I've been studying waste. I work in recycling. I am a resident of Los Angeles in West Adams, an area that's heavily impacted by a lot of the things that the Recycle LA was trying to address. I want to just say, first of all, that we have got some huge problems that we have to start addressing, and the reason why we are actually experiencing such price shifts, unfortunately, folks, is that we came at this from a disadvantage because waste was too cheap. It was too cheap for too long, and it has enabled a system that is in crisis. We have global resources that has been tripled in the last 40 years. That is an unsustainable path, and so unfortunately the costs are going to have to go up, but maybe the city can actually address some of these very real concerns today and actually come up with a plan that's going to work for everybody. But there is a new normal, folks, and we have to get used to it. We cannot continue on the path we've been, and we've been enabled by cheap waste for too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding two people to the line, Hillary Gordon and Jessica Durham. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, and just to add that Robert Notoff, you called his card, but there was accidentally two cards, so he already spoke, so he's good.
Okay.
And my name is Lauren Akiem, and I'm a researcher with Don't Waste LA. I just wanted to emphasize today we're obviously huge supporters of this system, and I just wanted to emphasize the important role of the waste assessment, as Alex and Dan spoke to. It's the responsibility and the opportunity for the service providers to really work with customers to make sure that they are recycling, that they're getting the food recovery services so that they can reduce their rates, and also the opportunity and responsibility in that moment to be able to help people to move or otherwise secure their bins so that they're avoiding some of those fees. We've seen when people have really robust waste assessments where they have that good conversation face-to-face that they're able to actually understand the system and feel good about it. And we're really excited about the city's team that is going to be able to help and make sure that those are done well. And so we just want to make sure that those waste assessments are really standardized, really systematically rolled out so that people are actually able to recycle, move to zero waste, and do what the system's needing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding to the list, the line, I should say, Chris Tucker.
Good
morning. My name is Hillary Gordon from the Westwood West LA area and a member of the Don't Waste LA Coalition. It was great to hear the status update from LA City San. I'm here to give you a bit of a status update from the neighborhood street perspective. Where once we had on my narrow street about 8 different companies servicing our street, coming down the street every day, often multiple times a day, we're down to 2, LA City San and the commercial service provider. They're on the street maybe a couple of times a day. So we've got fewer trucks, fewer emissions, less congestion, less noise, less wear and tear on the street. And hopefully that slurry that the city put down will last a little longer and the city will avoid some unnecessary expense in repairing that. But what has really made me giddy with joy as a zero waste activist is the number of recycling bins I'm seeing in front of apartment buildings and businesses that never had them. And not just one blue bin, I'm talking multiple blue bins. I passed business the other day, 8 blue bins lined up next to a dumpster. These are the gains of the recycling
1 minute.
program. Please do not go back on that. Thank you.
Thank you. You are Ms. Durham? Okay.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessica Durham. I am a CD4 resident. I'm here to speak in support of the Recycla program. I'm a renter. I live in a multi-family building on a street full of other multi-family buildings next to a commercial corridor. And since the rollout of this program, I've seen a dramatic reduction in the number of trucks on my street every morning, not just a reduction in noise and traffic, but also in dirty emissions. And also critically, I think it's important that this program has raised health and safety standards for the workers that haul our waste and recycling and sort it. These are hard jobs and these are dangerous jobs. And as an Angelino, I'm proud that we're implementing a policy to ensure the highest possible health and safety standards for the workers and the hardworking men and women that we all depend on. So I encourage you to stay the course in implementing this visionary program that is already benefiting workers in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. You are Mr. Tucker?
Hello, good morning, Commissioners. I'm here in support of Recycla. I'm a landlord in the city of Los Angeles. And, you know, profits are important to me, and I want to point out here today, nobody has come out against zero waste and the goals of this policy. The big complaint has been about profits, and there seems to be something that needs to be done around that. But, you know, and I care about profits, but I care about my children a lot more. And we as caretakers of the city need to create a better city with better policy like Recycla. And, you know, and profits are okay, but people and our children are much more important. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have gone through the public speakers with their cards in on time. We are 18 minutes over the time that I had allotted, so we're not going to take the cards that came in that were late this morning. So we will start with questions from the commission. We'll start with, oh, by the way, before we start with Commissioner Repenning, I would like to note, I want to thank the haulers and the representatives. My understanding from attendance that we took with our folks here, it looks like we had representatives from every hauler here, recognizing they did not put in a speaker card, but we were glad that they were here for the process and are still here as far as I know. Commissioner Repenning, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank everyone who came down to be part of this discussion today. People both in support of the program and people who came to talk to us about their problems that they're experiencing. One of the great things about our city is that we have boards made up of LA residents who are regular people who are providing oversight to what we do as a city. And that's what we're here as today. So we all live in LA. And we certainly, you know, nothing I think that any of us have heard today came as a surprise. We all hear about the problems from our neighbors, our friends, our families. But speaking as a mother, I am a huge believer in what we're trying to do with this program. We had a day this summer that was 108 degrees, and you know, it's frightening. So the realities of climate change are here. And we have to evolve. We have to evolve the way that we do things And this waste program is part of that. It's part of, what we call adaptation, where, government agencies are really looking at how we're going to do things differently based on the reality of needing to address climate change. So we have to get out of the landfill business. We need to recycle. We need to make sure that every building in our city is recycling. We need to provide every resident of LA access to a blue bin, and that's what we're doing here. There are a number of other benefits. I'm not going to get into it. We've heard a lot about that here today. As the sanitation commissioner for our board, I have personally spent a lot of time on this program. And, like I said, I believe in it. I believe in what we're trying to do. But there are also some problems that we're experiencing. And, what we're trying to do here is unprecedented. There are up to 80,000 accounts that are part of the program, as many as 60,000 moving from one hauler to another. No city has done anything of this scope and scale. And so, yes, there are going to be problems, and yes, we're going to fix them. So I believe that we have the tools in place to address the two major problems that we have, which are service and which are people's bills. And so I wanted to ask sanitation to come back up, and I wanted to just ask a couple of questions and really kind of shine the light on what we're doing, because I think one of the things that we want people here today to know is really our commitment to making this program work and to making this program work for our customers.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner Penning, and while they're making their way up, if any of you that are standing would like to sit, because some people have had to leave, there are a few gaps. If you would like to sit down, there are a few gaps in the seats. That's up to you, of course, but I at least wanted to let you know about that and that opportunity. Go ahead, Commissioner Penning.
Sure. So I actually wanted to talk first about service. There's a service dashboard that was part of the presentation. I wanted to go back to that and just spend a little bit of time on it. Service is obviously, we've had a lot of issues in the transition, which are to be expected when you have that many accounts moving from one company to another. You have our service providers rerouting, you have new drivers, new neighborhoods. So tell me about really how we're monitoring that and how we're going to make sure that the service improves.
So, Dan Myers, LA Sanitation.
You're Mr. Myers. Go ahead.
So to start with, before we even begin with the dashboard, I actually think it's very important to give a quick background. And during my presentation, I talked about how we ask every customer of the city to call LA Sands 1-800-773-2489 Customer Care Center, or to go online and complete a service request online. The reason that we ask that is because sanitation has taken on the responsibility as being the first point of contact. And we've spent the last, almost 12 months working with our service providers so that every time a customer calls or fills out a service request, that information is tracked in our system. It is immediately transmitted to the correct service provider based upon their service address. And every update that they make to that service request, LA Sands sees. When that service request is complete, LA Sands sees that service request is complete or has been updated. We've also worked very hard. The dashboard that is up right now actually tracks, it's probably at least eight different parameters and ways to look at the service requests that are coming in. But that does a lot more than just allow us the ability to look at them. It allows us to respond to them. One of the dashboards that we're able to look at is how many service requests, say, for miscollections are open in any service area, even down to the council districts. And we can see how long that ticket has been opened. And then we can work with our service provider to ensure that if that service has not been provided within the window, we can communicate with them to provide that. There's been instances where it actually, the service wasn't provided in what we have defined as an acceptable window, and LA Sand has gone out and collected customer accounts to ensure that trash is not sitting on the streets.
And when they close the ticket out with our system, are there photos provided?
There are, there will be photos provided. In many cases, what we do is we actually ask the service provider to send photos to our contract managers. All of the service providers are actually updating their fleet right now with the ability to capture pictures, to show or have dynamic monitoring to show the service was provided.
And so contractually, what, if, I think people have actually been really patient, I think, in the city, understanding that we're going to have some miscollections. But as we start to get, to the conclusion of the transition and into really the program, if we continue to see miscollections, what are the contractual tools that we have that are going to allow us to make sure that we're able to take action?
Well, what we've done, and I do agree, our customers have been more than patient with us and the service providers. As we near the end of transition, specifically February 1st, the contract is chock full of customer service and service requirements. An example would be that if a customer calls in before, I think it's 2 o'clock, that service has to be provided for a miscollection. That service has to be provided by 6 o'clock that day. That service, if it comes in after that, it has to be provided by 10 a.m. the next day. If a service provider does not provide the service within that window, there are what's called liquidated damages in the contract. Liquidated damages for not meeting that contractual requirement. And it goes further. If it goes past that next day, there's an additional liquidated damage associated with it. And if every day after that, we hope it never gets to that point. And that's just one example. There are pages of service requirements and associated liquidated damages that the city can start levying to ensure the customers receive the service they deserve.
Okay. And one quick question, because people have asked me this. Say there's a miscollection and the bin overflows and some trash ends up on the ground. The service providers, when they go and handle that collection, they're also cleaning up around the bin, correct?
They should be. Specifically, when a customer has a miscollection and the overflow and the issues caused because of service-related issues, our service providers should be leaving that site the way it's intended to be, which is clean and free of debris.
Okay, I think that's really important. Dan, I wanted to get into the other area of focus, which is the billing and specifically the extra service charges that that people are experiencing as a significant factor in the increase of some folks' bill. And so I wanted to return to I believe it's page 19 of the presentation. And talk a little bit more about the Bill Review Task Force.
What slide 19 is, but just give me a second.
That one right there.
What we're doing about billing concerns?
Yes.
Yes, found it.
Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the difference between auto enrollment versus bills that have been right-sized. So people are auto-enrolled at what point?
People are auto-enrolled if we, after the service provider has made a number of prescribed attempts to contact and communicate with the customer. In the earlier slides, I showed the transition progression. An example would be if that customer was to start their waste assessments in July, the service provider will spend all of July and August working to try to communicate with the customer to not only get a waste assessment, but also get a service agreement signed. And again, that service agreement is what the customer has to show this is what I've agreed we've come up with to best service my property.
So our goal is to get people to really connect with their provider and right-size their account, because their bill after doing so is very likely to be reduced, correct?
It's very likely. Again, if you look at the difference of auto-enrolled, which is a term that we've come up with, it may not mean a lot to the folks even in the audience, but what that means is that we have made the number of attempts. We've spent 2 months trying to communicate. If we can't get a service agreement signed, what happens is that customer is defaulted to their existing level of service. And when a customer is defaulted to their existing level of service, they truly have not they've not had the opportunity to take advantage of the recycling that's built into their service. And it's that recycling that can allow them to reduce their bill by right-sizing their account from what it would be if they just kept their service level the same.
Okay. So we're working with the service providers. They're sending us their billing, and we are taking those auto-enroll bills where we see that 40% or more of the total potential bill is made up of extra service charges. And what percentage of those bills are actually 40% or more?
So what we found is based upon the billing provided to us, that average is around 5%.
So it's a small number, but these are the customers that are really, in my opinion, getting hit pretty hard. And so these are the ones that we've sort of said, we're going to focus on these, and we are going to review their account, we're going to review their property, and we are going to look at where we can help them reduce the extra services needed to service their account and increase their recycling.
That's correct. We've gone out to over 1,000 sites to.
Have physically gone out. Our inspectors.
Our inspectors have physically gone.
And
out.
are the service providers going with us on those visits, or are we collaborating in that effort?
It's in some cases we are. Some haulers have agreed to come out with us. So it's actually a city staff and one of their zero waste specialists that are out in the field. In some cases, they have not agreed to come out with us, in which case we will still send a city inspector out to those sites.
So this is really us trying to help these customers that we know, this 5% that we know that really are being impacted by extra service charges. And I think it's so important, Dan, that we work to really achieve collaboration with our service providers in this effort. And I would request that you and Sanitation reissue the invitation to them to be part of this, because that's how we're going to help our customers, is when we're there alongside them, really working together on let's help, solve these problems for people. Let's help these customers. And I think that, hopefully, we'll receive that cooperation and that collaboration.
I will reach back out to them immediately.
Okay, thank you. And so I also wanted to just talk about, there was a slide that referred to inconsistencies in how fees are being applied. So we're seeing from different parts of the city different applications of the service fees. And to me, it's a concern about equity. So we want to make sure, part of this program is transparent and, and predictable rates across the city. And so for me, those inconsistencies are troubling, and I know that, we have really thought about how to address that. At the end of the day, Dan, where there's a difference, where there are inconsistencies in billing, who is the arbiter of that issue?
That is the city, LA Sanitation. The contract specifically states, and it's actually not even, it's not just for billing. It's for any dispute between the customer and the service provider. The city is the arbiter of those disputes and has ability to resolve those.
Okay, so my understanding is that we've actually, in some cases, issued clarifications of how extra service fees should and should not be applied, correct?
We have issued those clarifications.
Okay, so I think it's very important to me that we achieve an understanding across the board of how fees should and should not be applied, so that we can go out with our inspectors and really have an understanding of how we can help people.
I do agree.
Okay. And so you were able to outline our bill dispute process, and I think that for now I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues for their questions. But before I do, I actually just want to thank you and the team at Sanitation, everyone from Enrique on down. You guys do a great job, and appreciate your work.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. We'll go to Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James, and Commissioner Repenning, your remarks and opening up too. I also agree that, we're at an important place in this field rollout phase, right? We're 5 or 6 months, and we're going to head over to our optimization phase. And so this is actually exactly what needs to happen, and I want to thank the public, the stakeholders, and all those who came in and provided their truths about what they see, this very important sustainability in terms of the mayor's vision, in terms of what needs to happen in this world, in this city. I'm going to talk about 3 sort of B's, and it's related to Commissioner Repenning's points as well, that we have a business model that needs to be sustainable, that the haulers, the RSPs need to be successful in their ability to maintain their business operations, charge transparent fees that can be supported and applied very credibly and very exactly to that point. And so where we can help and partner with the haulers, and to the haulers, I'm going to ask for us to have this relationship of interdependency, not confrontational, but it's clear that the city and the haulers and the RSPs have to work together with our customers, our multifamily and our commercial businesses, in order for this to happen, so that there can be trust that this program, it makes sense, but it's in the details about how this business, how this trash and hauling happens. So I'm going to ask that we all have that goal to build trust, build the public trust, because they are the ratepayers, they are the ones that are paying all that. So the second B is I want to ask for us to really address the barriers that we had talked about, the barriers to recycling. When multifamily, they have issues of how they can actually separate and be able to recycle. If they can't do that, then we have to find ways to help them as much as possible in terms of being able to fill that blue bin, or to have, Dan, as you said, the barriers to the problems with the assessment, the waste assessment, of being able to get out there. We have to do more. We can't put the onus just on the customer, say the customer's lack of knowledge. As a city and haulers, we have to say, what more can we do? Because in the end, we're trying to change behavior. And that's a tough thing. That's not easy. So this 6 months in this field rollout phase, we're learning a lot. We're exactly where we need to be. We are going to stay the course, I believe, and I support that. We have to tweak things so that it gets better, it gets more transparent, and we're able to build public trust. So that's important to me. I want to thank Enrique, Alex, you, and Dan and Karen, and all the entire Bureau of Sanitation staff and the mayor's office, the whole ecosystem that has put this program together. It's our way forward. Let's just continue to do a better job. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, I want to first start off again thanking everybody who has come together to share with the Board of Public Works this issue in terms of our early feedback on the service delivery and rate billing systems and its impact upon the citizens of Los Angeles, and in particular, those residents of the community and the various organizations who have shared their accounts. Certainly, I know that you know from at least already those who have testified or have given remarks from the board that you have been heard. Additionally, I'd like to say for the record, I did read Councilman David Rue's letter and did absorb his point of view, not only on supporting our zero waste goals, but on his concerns about the effectiveness of the service delivery and rate billing that has been or maybe not been implemented by the haulers to date. I want to compliment the the Bureau of Sanitation for enacting its role, because it is government's responsibility when we have a relationship with private industry who often can deliver for us effective services. But when there is a conflict, and I think Commissioner Repenning asked the question, but when in fact there is a conflict, it is the role of government to keep private industry on track when they're delivering services for government. And so I was very pleased from the very beginning of this hearing to hear that the Bureau of Sanitation has a structure in place. And I don't want to beat a dead horse in terms of the areas of concern that have already been mentioned, which basically are service delivery and rate billing. But I do want to zero in on something that has not been mentioned yet. And it deals with both the interest of the citywide haulers who come from the private industry, free enterprise section on one hand, and yet it deals with the role of the Bureau of Sanitation. As I have listened to constituents who have come before us, there was some concern about the various fees and the various strategies that could be implemented. So I am looking at the question of, to what degree could the Bureau of Sanitation have an outreach team to discuss various fees and alternative activities that neighborhood associations and stakeholders could implement to better manage and improve trash collections and service delivery? To what degree is that possible? And obviously, is it a violation of the existing contract? But if it is not a violation of the existing contract, certainly it would appear to me that the Bureau of Sanitation would be the appropriate organization and entity, given the relationship between the fees and those with whom we contract. So I think that as we explore not only the solutions that you're going to implement on service delivery and rate, to what degree can we bolster our outreach and implement communication with our stakeholders about the various strategies that might or might not be available? Is that something that will help overall to get us to the goal of satisfaction on behalf of everybody involved? And so those are my observations and comments.
So to address that, there's nothing contractually that prohibits us from working with our customers to ensure they're correctly educated and are getting the service that they deserve and are paying for. In fact, it is incumbent upon us to do that. We have been, we have developed the Green Ribbon Business Committee, where we actually have been, I think we're going to ramp it up to meeting monthly. We bring business associations in, provide them updates, and actually have a forum for them to provide us their concerns for us to continually respond to. Sanitation, I have personally gone out, I think just last week I was at 2 business improvement districts monthly meetings to specifically speak to Recycla, listen to and respond to their concerns. And as well as we have gathered information, we have again increased our presence on our website, more information. I do believe we're going to continue to improve that, and I think that's extremely important. And especially as Enrique mentioned, our optimization phase, it's not just our haulers that will be moving to the next phase, LA San also, to really, again, increase that outreach, that education, and our presence out there on the program.
I think that's critically important, and I think it will help our stakeholders to be better prepared and more in control from their side of the table.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Rivas.
Thank you to everyone that came today and took the time to give us their opinions and feedback on the program. And also thanks to LA Sanitation for this detailed presentation. It's evident that you're working hard to resolve these issues. And I really appreciate your time and multiple members of your team here. Just to add, I have two issues to add besides those that have been brought up by my colleagues. One, there was a gentleman that mentioned that his provider did not have the right equipment or the right trucks because they were smaller bins. What are we doing to ensure that our contractors have the equipment necessary to provide the service that they're supposed to be providing?
One of the things we do and have done during transition is we meet at minimum weekly with our service providers, go over where they're at in transition, their equipment they have, what equipment they're still purchasing. I met with a number of them yesterday and the day before. Some of them noted that they have 4 new Scout trucks that are coming in that are being delivered this week, next week, and the following week. So we do work with them to understand and to ensure they have the right equipment. We will directly respond to that concern. Before we roll out a program in any zone, it's incumbent upon the service provider to have the right equipment to service those. So that I did hear that as a concern, and we will be following up on that.
Are there deadlines for that? If they still don't have the equipment, is there a deadline?
There is. There's contractually there's deadlines of when they were to have all of their equipment in place. I haven't heard that they did not have the equipment, but like I said, we'll be responding to that now. Yes.
Commissioner Alex Halubir of Sanitation. Mike just gave me a list about 30 accounts that he stated they've been basically have not been collected for over 3-4 weeks. We already sent it to our staff to go out today and start collecting those businesses because that's totally unacceptable. He mentioned that he did talk to the provider in the Sun Valley area and they told him they didn't have the right vehicles. But we have to remember, these are international companies. These are national companies. I mean, to be very specific, he pointed that they told him they do not have the trucks. But this company is a national company, and it's shame on them if they don't have the trucks. I mean, they can bring vehicles into the LA area from other places. There's no excuse. When they awarded this contract, they assured us that they will have the vehicles. But I would let them respond to that, not me, to speak on their behalf. But we do need them for today, we assured Mike that all these will be serviced today, and if we can't access them today, we'll go tomorrow. Some places we do need the access code, so the businesses will give us the access code, we'll go in and pick them up.
Yeah, I agree that they should have the equipment. I mean, they're not new to this business, right? A lot of these companies, and so thank you, Alex, for doing something right away. I hope that we don't always have to be the ones, to provide the service that eventually the provider does provide the service and meet the requirements of the contract. And one other issue, or just something that I heard some people bring up was, education for tenants on how to recycle. And I know that's a huge task. I think of the property owners that mention that, a lot of their tenants don't know how to recycle or what they can put in the blue bin, and they're being penalized because a lot of times they're not able to pass any of this cost increase to their rents, maybe because of rent control or other reasons. And I'm very passionate about education, and I know that environmental education is not equitable across our city. I never learned anything about recycling growing up. I didn't know how to do it. That's something I had to learn as an adult. And I know that we have a lot of people. This program assumes that we all know and care about the environment and know about climate change or about why recycling is important. And I think, our education system, like I said, is not equitable, and a lot of us didn't learn. And so I would like to see us, especially in underserved communities, do something or provide, maybe partner with educators and organizations that can help us with this messaging and teach, not just children, but adults that never learned about how to recycle and its importance and the effects that it has on the environment. So I hope that we have plans for that, and I would definitely like to help.
Very good. And we do, again, as we leave the transition stage, really the next piece is getting back to all the businesses and providing that outreach and education to their customers. And it's many detailed requirements of how that has to look in the contracts. So I completely agree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. I have a few questions, and I'm going to move kind of in and out of the contract. So, Dan, we can start with you, Alex, Karen, anybody else that feels that they need to respond to where I'm going or to one of my questions to the extent it calls for a response. Some of my questions might be leading. Because I'm making a point about it, but you all can kind of flow in between on how we answer these. I first want to go to contract section 3.1, which is page 17 of the contract, and it basically says that collection of solid resources shall conform to the customer's service needs. That's a pretty broad mandate, right?
Yes.
It's a clear one, though.
Clear.
And I start there because the point that was just made regarding having a national company working in the city of Los Angeles that doesn't have the vehicles available for apparently weeks to pick up the size of bins, to me, I think they said unacceptable. I would argue it's a little ridiculous. We are dealing with the best in the industry. We know it because we went out to all of the market and we went out with our request for proposals and we asked for these proposals and they were chosen. It was a very competitive process in a very competitive market and industry. So those little things I am confident that our partners, and I use the term partners for RSPs, yes, they're city contractors, but we would like to think that they are partners and continuing partners in this process. Those types of problems can be solved, can be solved quickly. Now, that said, I do want to thank everyone's participation today. I recognize that there is frustration with the program. We have frustration with the program. And what our purpose is today was to bring some of these, as many of these challenges and problems to the light of day with the benefit that this board provides to the city so we can begin collectively to solve these. And the best way it seems to me to do it is to use the document that we both signed onto. The RSPs, which I may call the haulers, and the city, and it's on behalf of our residents, and it's the contract. So regarding the contract, There is at section 4.2, page 45, the contractor is required to establish a customer service center. Now that's each of the contractors, correct, Mr. Myers?
That is correct.
Have all of the contractors done this so far?
They have.
Okay, so we all have a customer service, they all have a customer service center. Each customer's complaint, this is also according to the contract, and let me find my section here. This is section 4.3, page 45 of the contract. Each customer's complaint affecting the performance is presumed to be a legitimate complaint. So the presumption is with the complainant, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so the presumption is with the folks that came in today that were upset with reason A, reason B, or reason C. Got it? So starting from that presumption, then, and the presumption is in favor of the complainant, from what I'm hearing, and I understand that we are dealing with, and I've got a question about the number of accounts in a minute, but we're dealing with roughly 70,000 accounts, and we're dealing with 70,000 accounts, and we had a number of people that were here today. I know there were a lot of people that couldn't be here today because they were unable to get away from their jobs or whatever, which we completely understand. But when we're in this transition phase, there are going to be some growing pains. But I would expect that these complaints, because there is a presumption in the favor of the complainant, it makes sense, and I'll get to this in a minute, why it makes a lot of sense for the contractor to be very anxious to solve the problem or the complaint that the customer has brought before them. Fair enough?
Don't disagree.
Why did we go from roughly 60,000 accounts, which we thought would be transitioned, to now apparently 67,000 accounts, and I guess we're going to go up to 70,000 accounts? How did we miss that number?
The original numbers that we had, or the numbers we had, were based upon information that was self-reported through our old waste hauler permit system. So, and obviously a number of things happened. Is that we do know through the process we identified a number of haulers that were underreporting their number of accounts to us. So that number was artificially low. And that accounts for a lot of that, and just or from unpermitted haulers not reporting to us at all. So that's probably one of the biggest contributors to that number increase.
Would you agree with me that the contract itself for each of these haulers is what I'll call the customer protection document?
Absolutely.
All right, that's what's going to protect the rights of the customers, right? Okay. Now, we talked earlier about a bill review task force. Who's on the bill review task force, and what are the results so far of the bill review task force?
So our bill review task force, what we have is I have over 70 inspectors that works just on the Recycla program. And their sole purpose is to ensure that the terms of the contract are being met in the field. What we've done is we've worked with our service providers to identify customers as a starting threshold of any customers whose bills increase more than 40% because of extra service charges.
And the extra service charges, let me just interrupt you for a moment, hold your thought there, but the extra service charges, so we're clear, we're basically talking about, and I think this is borne true by the testimony we heard from many speakers today. You're talking about access fees and distance fees, generally, right?
Those are the two.
Okay, go ahead.
So So we start with identifying the customer, and then the next step is to go out and actually do a site assessment. So we have our inspectors go out in the field, try to work with the customer to access the site. Even if we can't work with the customer, we still try to access the site. So if it's measuring distance, identifying if there's actually a locked gate, that is what our field inspectors have done with, it's over 1,000 accounts right now.
Okay, so the bill dispute process, what's the process for a customer that's interested in the bill dispute process? How do they get into the process?
So right now they can go on to Recicla.com, and there's a tab right on the left-hand side, says bill dispute. They can click on that and complete a bill dispute form. Or they could call our customer care center, and they will assist them in completing the bill dispute form. That billing dispute is then tracked by LA San and sent to the service provider for action.
Okay. So in the bill dispute process, if I'm going to give you some hypotheticals here. If in the bill dispute process, customer A comes in, has a bill dispute regarding an access issue, and the bill dispute, did I catch you right? If there's the bill dispute is then going to be sent to the hauler to make a determination. Okay, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and if the hauler decides, hey, this customer is actually right about this one, what happens with the amount of money that is in dispute?
Well, they would. It is necessary for them to credit the customer for the disputed amount.
So they get credited on their next bill?
They get credit on the next billing, and to stop charging the service charge that was found to be inappropriate.
Going forward, okay. If, let's say that customer A submitted the bill dispute and then the hauler said, no, we don't agree with you, we're going to deny your bill dispute. What is the avenue of appeal?
So they can appeal that to LA San. Again, LA San is the arbiter of bill disputes. Again, to support our customers, any bill disputes that were not found in the customer's favor, LA San has the goal to automatically investigate and review those.
Okay. During the bill dispute process, what should the customer should continue to pay the bills, right?
Customers should continue to pay their bills. What we're looking for is a short process, so we can come to a resolution as quickly as possible.
All right, because what we don't want is someone with again, because of the contract, service is what is key. I'll get to that in a moment, but service is key. And for the customer, it's very important that they not, for lack of a better term, because of a bill dispute, give the contractor an out from providing service because of a dispute. So the way to do that is to make sure you pay your bill, then we'll have the dispute adjudicated or dealt with the hauler first. If they don't like the result, then they can come back to sanitation for the ruling from sanitation, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Going to, and so we've got kind of billing disputes on one side and some service problems on the other side. Let's continue on the billing for just a moment. On the billing side, with the extra fees, the extra fees are generally access and distance fees. There was some discussion already about inconsistency in the way that access and distance fees are being charged from probably one zone to another, one hauler to another, but maybe even potentially one customer to another. How do you get to the resolution, and what have we done, if anything, what has the Bureau of Sanitation done regarding these disputed access and distance fees. Have we approached the haulers about that in an attempt to work with them within the parameters of the contract to solve what sounds like to be the hot button issue right now?
We have. LA Sand has issued a list of clarifications of LA Sand's interpretation of the applicability of or certain access and distance charges, with the goal of getting to a uniform application of the fees.
All right, and I'm gonna. It's either page 69 or 70 around there in the contract. There's a list. I mean, I've got them here of the of what you can charge. We're very clear in the contract on what extra fees are regarding access and distance. Correct?
That is correct.
Why would we entered into the contract, the Bureau of Sanitation made the recommendation after much negotiation with the haulers. Why would we allow in the contract the haulers to charge fees for access or distance? What in their business model necessitated that we would agree to?
Well, it is truly the effort, the effort, the time, liability associated with providing service to a customer that is above what we consider to be the basic level of service. So that was really the impetus of making sure that there was compensation for providing additional service.
So this goes back to the special services description you gave earlier?
Yes.
Because here, let me tell you how I see it, and let me know if I'm close on this, okay? If it's an access issue, and for whatever reason, our service provider is unable to access, let's say they've got 10 properties on one block that they need to service within that specific time frame, and they come up to property number 1 and they can't get in, and we've got an access issue. So it takes additional time. It's going to take additional time for whatever reason. You talked about the building that requires the carpet on the marble floor. Well, that business should pay for that added service, not all the other services on the block, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that makes sense, and if there is a problem that occurs on that service delivery, maybe instead of shortchanging everybody else on the block, perhaps the hauling company has to call somebody to come in on overtime because hauler A or service member A spent this time here at the first property and the other services need to be dealt with, so we had to call in somebody and pay them overtime. So that's the justification for the access and distance fees. A lot of it could be boiled down to time. Is that fair?
That's right on.
All right, so when we look at the access and distance fees, and we went to the haulers, is it fair to say that we are still negotiating with the haulers on what the access and distance fee details should be, even though we may argue that the contract is pretty clear? They may argue the same thing, but we're into this interpretation mode?
We are in this interpretation mode.
All right. I would encourage the haulers to continue working with our Bureau of Sanitation on getting to some reasonable results here. We heard some pretty consistent complaints regarding access fees and distance fees, and I've looked at the contract language, and I'm familiar with what we have requested of the haulers, and I think that both of us, in our desire for this beneficial program to the community, and indeed leading program in the nation, for it to get over some of these speed bumps in the early transition, we need to be able to resolve those. And I'm certainly willing to lend my assistance one way or the other if that's something that can actually be beneficial. That said, I'd like to go to contract section 5.2 of page 52, all customers shall receive a waste assessment. So let me go to that point. We talked a bit about the waste assessment a while back. The purpose of the waste assessment is to capture the materials generated at the customer location, identify means of increasing waste diversion, and setting goals for future diversion practices. Fair enough?
Yep.
So it's also a way for the customers to get their service fees in check. Is that fair enough too?
Oh, that is correct.
Because it seems to me that from what I've heard, albeit anecdotal, I thought the 47,000 out of 70,000, there's 47,000 waste assessments that have been done, right?
That is correct.
Okay, out of 70,000 at this point in the transition, that's not bad. The question I have though, are there some customers that need more than one waste assessment?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so some of them may have 3 or 4.
Yes.
Okay, so the 47,000 doesn't necessarily mean we only have to get to 70,000, right?
No.
And the waste assessments are always going to be something that they're going to live through the life of the program, correct?
Oh, yes. I mean, that's the customer is what we want. We want them to continue to revise and update their counts to help us meet our goals.
And so my friendly message to the haulers would be, only the anecdotal complaints that I get is that it seems like some of the haulers, not all of them, maybe 1 or 2 here or there, depending on who's working that day, but some of them may have dragged their feet, allegedly, regarding waste assessments because the longer I wait for the waste assessment, the longer I can continue charging money, or charging this fee or that fee. And the contract is pretty clear. The contract says shall when it says regarding the waste assessments. And we now have a staff of 70, as you've said, which I'll call our enforcement staff. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, we'll determine in a minute. Maybe we'll need some more. I hope not. Regarding another bar chart that was in the presentation, this was the one, this one. If you could put up on the screen number 17. Right. Franchise service request by type. Service not complete. That's the tall one there.
That's the big one.
All right. So now we're on the service issue.
Okay.
Right? So on the service issue, there's a lot of them here. It's fair to say these are complaints, right?
Yes.
Complaint driven.
Yes.
And right now, what are we doing regarding these complaints when we go to the hauler? When they come to me, I send them to the Bureau of Sanitation. You all have been very cooperative and quick in responding to the complaints that the board gets and going to the correct service provider. But I know that the contract has certain terms regarding what the contractor needs to do in response to these complaints. But for some reason, that bar is exceedingly high at this point. I understand that we're in a transition phase and there are some growing pains. When are we going to start to see the reduction in that bar?
I would say hopefully very soon.
February 1, perhaps?
Well, I do believe come February 1, with liquidated damages, there will also be a support of penalties behind not providing the service as required. But come February 1, and we've moved through our transition, we've actually seen a lot of the rerouting of the zones taken place. Zones 1, 2, and 3 in many cases have already been rerouted, and that's where you get a lot of your miscollections. We should see those start going down. But yes, I would expect by February we should start seeing those that bar start diminish significantly.
I think February 1 is an important date. And the reason February 1 is an important date for those that are contract nerds like myself, that's the date that in section 11.1, right around pages 88 to 90, Due to the complexity of the implementation of the franchise system, the city is willing to waive the assessment of liquidated damages in the period of the contract execution, with the exception of the category of implementation franchise system, in the period between contract execution, some time ago, and this is a defined term, start of service date. Is the start of service date February 1?
That is correct.
So that's when the city is able to start charging liquidated damages and assessments based on service interruptions and complaints that are provided by the customers that relate to the service providers, correct?
That is correct.
So the goal of the money that, well, first of all, let's talk about the money for a minute. The liquidated damages and the assessments that will occur. That money comes into the Bureau of Sanitation, correct?
Correct.
I would characterize it kind of as general fund money in the sense that we don't know what that amount's going to be. And if our partners that are here in the room that are the best in the industry in the waste hauling market are working with us and we're doing our job, that bar is going to come way down, and we're not going to have any liquidated damages in our bank account because the service is top-notch, correct?
That is our goal.
So I used to be the chairman of AIDS Project Los Angeles years ago, and our goal, as many charities, their goal was to put themselves out of business. As long as we were in business, we were still in a pandemic and an epidemic as we are today. I mentioned that. I shouldn't open the meeting with the fact that today is World AIDS Day, and we still have a lot of people that are dying of that horrible disease. That said, our goal and APLA's goal is still to put itself out of business. We would prefer that we don't have a liquidated damages bank account. But that first bar right there that shows a lot of complaints indicates that we're going to be charging, come February 1 or 2, 3, whatever, some liquidated damages and assessments. And that's not going to be good for the haulers. It's not good for the customers. And frankly, it shouldn't be good for us either. So regarding that money that comes in on liquidated damages, can we do something to spend that money in a way that benefits the customers? Because they're the ones that are missing out on whatever individual service it is, they're the ones that are missing out on that's resulting in the liquidated damages anyway. So as the Bureau thought of that, because what I would do is put that fund, that money, whatever it comes in that we hope dwindles over time, that can be put into programs that would benefit the businesses themselves that are the result of the service that was faulty enough to cause a liquidated damage assessment.
Yes, I mean, I can say that we do not have a full fleshed out plan, but the talk already is that we would be looking at working with our Green Ribbon Council, our chambers, and other associations to start moving that money out to really begin to address issues, and with their assistance, how best to address those issues.
Okay. The other thing I would recommend is we are, by the way, we have been named the #1 digital city in America a number of times. And our mayor is a technology mayor, and we have won open data awards across the board, including our controller's office as well. So I mention that because we have access to data and we are mastering the way to use it. And one of the things that we're going to see regarding this liquidated damages fund is trends. I believe we're going to see trends on areas where the customer service is not as it should be. Maybe if it's in one particular geographic area, it's going to be one particular hauler, correct? So if that happens, we should put the funds into a specific area if we're seeing trends, and data will tell us that. So that's just my suggestion to the Bureau regarding the way that we spend the liquidated damage funds that we hope actually goes away in a very short order, okay? Now, going back to the the liquidated damages issue. This is an element that is required in the contract of the haulers that they agreed to because they were as confident as we are in their ability to provide the services that need to be provided. However, I've got to say that even though we are in the largest transition of its type in the nation's history, I know that for our mayor and I believe from what I've heard from the city council members and our Board of Public Works and the Bureau of Sanitation and our haulers too, as certainly the customers, we have had more service delivery complaints than we expected to have. And so even though they signed on to these liquidated damages, they certainly thought that we would do a better job at minimizing service interruption and customer service complaints than we're doing. We've got about 7 weeks before the liquidated damages period kicks in. And we definitely need to solve a lot of those customer service driven complaints before then. But I've got a question on the billing side of the liquidated damages issue. Recognizing that liquidated damages, and just confirm this for me in case I missed something, the liquidated damages assessments relate to customer service that's separate and apart from the billing side. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So if we've got a persistent billing problem, we can't really assess liquidated damages on that. Is that right?
No, there's liquidated damages are not associated with billing.
Right. So that takes me to an area that I only mention because this area is in every contract. And I don't mean every contract that we have with our haulers. But every contract that I've seen, I've been a lawyer since 1988, and contracts have termination provisions in them. And the termination clause here is 15.1. And it is in page 96 of the agreement. This agreement may be terminated in whole or in part in writing by either party in the event of substantial failure by the other party to fulfill its obligations under the agreement through no fault of the terminating party. And there is some additional language in there. That's not somewhere we ever want to go in this contract, but we also are very anxious to see that we never have substantial failure by any party. And the reason that I mention it in the billing side instead of the service side is it seems to me that substantial failure is going to be easier to calculate when you're talking about services. But if we end up with incessant billing problems, there might be a way that we're going to have to solve some of these incessant billing problems without the city having to start talking about the termination clause. And I mention that because I believe the service problems are going to be easier to solve. They're problems that you can take a photograph of with your smartphone. The billing problems aren't. But the billing problems are what we heard a lot about today. And so I'm going to end on this. I've read the communications between the city and the service providers regarding the extra fees. And I know that we can get to agreements on this. I believe it's going to take some work, but we have got to keep some of these customer issues, the 5%, in mind. The other, of the 23% that have these extra service fees, only 5% are over 40%. So as Commissioner Repenning pinpointed earlier, that's the 5% that we need to work on here, and that's why I know we can get there. If it were 60%, I would be a lot more concerned. But because it's 5% and we're hearing from those 5%, I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to get there. Is there going to be some pain by both parties? That's the definition of compromise, some experts would tell you. And maybe we get there, maybe we don't. But I think our contract language is clear on fees. Anybody can turn to pages, it's somewhere between 68 and 73. Anybody can turn to pages 68 and 73 and they can read them. And I think that that it would behoove us to do that collectively. Finally, February 1 is the date that liquidated damages can be assessed, or can start to be assessed. I think that we need to have another oral report from the Bureau of Sanitation in a public hearing like this, where we can assess, I know we've used that term a lot today, but where we can assess where we are, because that's a new arena. And it's a new arena for all of us. It's a new arena for the RSPs, it's a new arena for the Bureau of Sanitation, and it's a new arena for the city, and it's also a new arena for our enforcement team, as I will call them. The 70 employees that, by the way, is that enough employees for you right now in that area?
As of today, yes.
Okay. I'm going to be optimistic that we're going to be able to reduce that in the future. But right now, it is where it is. I also know that in some of our exchanges, the communications and the conversations that the city's had with our service providers, that when they're justifying their issues on some of the challenges that we've raised on extra fees, I think there may be some outstanding information and data. They may need some information from us. We may need some information from them. I think that the parties ought to get together and start sharing some of this information so we can start resolving some of these extra service issues much sooner rather than later. That said, thank you, everyone. I know we have some other people who want to speak, but at least on my initial thought from what I heard today, that's what I have, although I'm going to look back through my notes and see if I missed anything. I think I got to the contract provisions that I wanted to highlight. But I read that contract, and I believe that contract is a contract that is written to protect the customers and to put transparency and finality in what's going on here. And so the inconsistencies in the charges and the vagueness on what can be charged and what cannot be charged right now, I'm going to chalk it up to a transition that's more difficult than maybe we hoped it would be, but the first of its kind in the country, and remain optimistic that because we've got the experts in the industry working with the best sanitation department in all of the country, that we're going to be able to resolve all of this. Thank you, and Commissioner Repenning.
Thank you, President James. Dan, I kind of wanted to return to what I think the goal of the hearing today. For me, the program won't be a success until we actually achieve customer satisfaction, and we have a lot of work to do in that regard. And some people are stressed out about the program, about their cost increases. I, as a child, my parents they were small business owners. They actually owned a carpet store. And I know what a lot of our small business owners go through to run their business, the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in. And, it's stressful to me to feel like people are out there worried about this. And I think that we have the tools in place to help people. And I think that we really need to start closing the gap between putting the tools in place and then actually going out and helping people and fixing the problems that we know that we have. You know, the businesses that are part of this program are really kind of the lifeblood of the city. And I actually wanted, because our partners and the service providers today have been characterized as national companies, and they're not all national companies. I mean, one of my favorite things about this program is that we drew some smaller zones to allow some small local businesses to compete, and I see those businesses really just working hard. I mean, I think that the haulers that were selected to be part of this program, I believe in them. I believe that they can truly join us in this partnership to help us get the best service for the customers and to make sure that those cost issues are handled in a quick and transparent manner. And I think that what you've heard today from our board is that we want to know that we're getting there. We don't want to waste any more time and really starting to resolve these issues. It's important to me to know that our partners in the program, the service providers, that as the contract manager of the city, that as we're issuing guidance on how things should or shouldn't be handled, that we're achieving compliance with that guidance. And if there's a disagreement with our guidance, then we can handle that on a separate track. We can discuss that disagreement on a separate track. But in the meantime, they should be complying with our guidance. There shouldn't be, we can't, it's not a discussion. We're the contract manager. The people of LA want us and need us out there to make sure that this program is being run the way that it was intended. And so, as we move forward, I think it's also really important that we do begin really a very robust recycling education program. I know we've heard from a lot of landlords who are worried about their tenants not participating. They're worried about being penalized. I know that the service providers are worried as well because they have to meet their goals, or else they're going to be paying liquidated damages. We want this city to recycle. We want everyone to know what to put in the blue bin, and we want them putting those items in the blue bin. So I look forward to sanitation and our board really helping put programs together to do education, including food waste. And I know that's kind of going to be phase 2 of this program, but I appreciated the discussion here today, Dan, and I know we're all in this together, and we're going to get through it, and we are going to really solve the problems that we have with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. I apologize. I found a contractual term that I didn't get to ask you about, Dan. I think there may be, it's maybe one. No, there's 2 of them. 4.3.1, Customer Dispute Resolution, page 46 of the contract. The city may, at its sole discretion, and this is a message, frankly, to the customers. The city may, at its sole discretion, investigate all unresolved disputes between contractor and a customer, including but not limited to disputes concerning the proper interpretation and implementation of this agreement. That takes us into the billing arena, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, so I know it's in the service side where you can take a photo of the service with your smartphone, but it puts us into the billing arena. So it puts an exclamation point on the process that I spoke about a moment ago, but it sends a message to the customers there that the Department of Sanitation, the Bureau here, has the opportunity, or not the opportunity, is under the contract at its sole discretion. The investigator of unresolved disputes between the contractor and the customer. Finally, Article 47 at page 138 of the contract, Performance Evaluation Ordinance. And so the city may also conduct evaluations of the contractor's performance during the term of the agreement. We get to make that choice, don't we?
Yes.
Okay. That's something else for everybody to remember. So I call it accountability. There are other aspects of this, but we are responsible to answer for the success of this program, and we very much look forward to doing that, and we know that we can. But this is one of many tools that exist in the contract to protect the customer. And the reason that it's important to have something like this, there's been discussion earlier about lack of competition. I understand that. It's been a lot of years in the private sector. And we are trying to, I don't want to say thread a needle because this is frankly easier than that, but we have to balance very important competing interests here. We have state mandates that we must meet. We have a state that will pass 40 million residents soon. We have a very fragile environment, and we want to leave California for our children and our grandchildren in a better place than it is now, and we can do that. But the reason to do it, and both of my colleagues, I think everybody mentioned it, Commissioner Jacinto talked about the need to change behavior to protect our environment. To do that and to get the benefits of what we were going to see here, it required the existence of the process that the city council and the mayor determined was best for this city. So that's where we are today. And I knew years ago there was a photograph that was posted on a national website. And we were still in the debate at the time of whether or not we were going to enter into this exclusive trash franchise agreement. And that this was well before any vote took place. But there was a photograph, and I think it was in Council District 15. It was either in 15 or it was in CD4. And there were 5 or 6 trash haulers. I call it the Drudge Report front page photograph. It's one of those that people that look at the Drudge Report, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, there's always that one photograph. There were 5 or 6 haulers on one block at one time. And when I saw that photograph, I knew that we needed to do a lot more, as has been communicated today. And that is, yes, maybe it was an extreme example, maybe not. But it was a picture worth 1,000 words on what this program needs to be. But because of the serious nature of the work that we're doing, it set up this process that people complain about lack of competition. But when they do that, I would impress upon them to look at the contract. The contract is our collective document to make sure that we get the best service possible for you at a price that is reasonable for you and is known for you, given the additional services that you are going to get and the improved service that happens through the program. So that said, we remain optimistic, but we're looking at this contract, and there have been problems that have been made, that have been brought to our attention, and I just wanted to put on the record that we are well aware of what we can do under the contract, and we look forward to getting to the promised land together. Anybody else? Commissioner Davis.
Can we get a report back on some of the dominant concerns that have been mentioned here and the solutions that Bureau of Sanitation will be implementing to resolve those dominant factors of concern that constituents have mentioned to us here in this particular hearing? Obviously, service delivery strategies around those that have been mentioned here, and some of the other issues about the gates and the access fees and all of that stuff. And then, of course, obviously, I'm going to ask that we give constituents all of the information they need to prevent some of these unnecessary assessments financially resulting in fees that they have had to incur. So if they can move the box to the left or to the right and not get a fee or whatever it is that they need to do, I don't expect that the franchisees, that it would be in their interest to give this kind of information to constituents, but that because the role and responsibility of the Bureau of Sanitation as the government agency on behalf of residents of the city, that it is your mission, your role, your responsibility to regulate those who are doing work for us, that I think that critically important it is that we're able to help constituents out in that way, because there's enough money being generated, enough revenues taking place in this national citywide trash collection model that Los Angeles City has on one hand, and then on the other hand at the same time help us to achieve customer satisfaction. I think we can do both things.
Yes, we look forward to coming back and providing the board updates on all of what we've heard, not only from you, but from our customers.
Great, thank you. Anything further? Well, the oral report will be anything further from the commission. I saw your attorney hit you there, Mr. Leeds. The oral report at long last will be received. Thank you all.
Mr. President, just for the record, that is the last item on your agenda. Would you like to adjourn the meeting for today?
Yes, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. We did clear the desk, correct? Yeah, thank you.
Yes.